Morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this morning's regular meeting of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors. We're going to start with an invocation by Pastor Bill Franson, and if you'd remain standing, Supervisor Burley will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, the supervisors, and honored guests. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now in a time where our nation is in a lot of turmoil, a lot of uneasy feelings, people that can't talk together and give the ideas, Lord. I pray right now for our county, for our state, and for our country, Lord, that you'll just put your healing hand upon us, that the ideas can be discussed without hostility. Put a special blessing upon the supervisors and upon the guests today, Lord, that this meeting will be peaceful and that it will go in a way that will be pleasing to you. We thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please face the flag of a country that has brought more prosperity to the world that mankind has ever known. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you sit, I'd like to ask everybody to please join us in a brief moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Thank you. Board of Supervisors may by motion recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorneys on any item contained in this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A 4 and 7. Looking for a motion and action to call for an executive session to be held on March 3rd, 2020. That's not right at all. What's that on there? October 3rd, I think that's supposed to say, 2026.
October 6th.
October 6th?
Yes.
2026. Okay, at 9 a.m.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have this order. Thank you. Official business to come before the board. Discussion of pending or contemplated litigation claims and demands. Attorney Davis.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. Committee and/or legislative reports. We'll start with Supervisor Lettman this morning.
So just a heads up on one item. I'm going to put on the agenda for the next meeting. I'd like an update on the ERP for the medical examiner.
Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Myself and Supervisor Lettman electronically and Supervisor Lettman in person attended the Bullhead City Municipal Planning Organization meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes, as many of you know, we recently suffered a catastrophic event in Meadview where, according to NOAA, it was a 1 in 1,000 year event, and it literally washed away the entire water system of the community of Meadview. I can tell you for 3 days it was pretty hairy up there as we struggled to do emergency services and get water to everybody. I can say this, I've never seen a community pull together like happened when that event occurred. I mean, Kingman, Dolan Springs, everywhere reacted, came to the aid of those folks up there, and I'm happy to say right now we're just about fully online again, and hopefully it'll be another 1,000 years before they have another flood like that. So that was my first, what I call major crisis within that district. And like I say, it was a learning experience, but it also was very enlightening to see that in this time in America where we have so much divisiveness out there, to see that people from all over Mojave County stepped up and said, hey, this isn't about politics. This is about helping your neighbor. And I know for one, that's the way I was brought up, that when your neighbor needs help, you stand up and you help them. and I'm proud to say that I was able to help out up there. And I thank all of the people from all over Mojave County who responded to that crisis up there. And we had no loss of life. We had some inconveniences, yes, but their volunteers were just outstanding. And from all the business communities and people, thank you very much for helping a community in need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Borelli.
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing to report as well. We'll go to County Manager's report. Manager Elters, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. No report today.
Okay. We have 2 proclamations this morning. The first proclamation is approve the proclamation declaring September 19th, 2025 as POW MIA Day in Mojave County, and order the POW MIA flag to be flown from the flagpole of the County Administration Building in compliance with ARS 38-449B4. We could read that into the record if there's any request to do so. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I appear to have it. Do have it so ordered. Thank you. Our second proclamation this morning is declaring September 17th through the 23rd of 2025 as Constitution Week, and September 17th as Constitution Day in Mojave County, Arizona. I could read that into the record if there's any desire. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I appear to have it. Do have it so ordered. Thank you. We also have 2 presentations this morning. First presentation is presentation and update by the Mojave County Elections Department and Mojave County Recorder regarding ballot security measures and Runback Election Services ballot guard ballot paper. Alan, I see you. Yep. Recorder Durst. Yep.
Morning, everybody.
Podium's yours.
All right. I'm Alan Temper, the Mojave County Elections Director. I know you all know me, and I'm looking around the room. Most everybody in this room knows me because I know them. Great stuff. Thank you for going.
You could talk into the microphone, Alan, so we can all hear you loud and clear.
All those little nice things I just said are still all relevant. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a I'm going to give you a little bit of a gift because I'm not going to speak much today after the very first beginning. My staff is going to be doing the talking, and the recorder staff is going to be doing the talking. What we decided to do is, in April, we were directed by the board to use ballot guard paper when we signed the contract with Runback. Okay? Really cool. And we're going to explain what ballot guard paper is in a little more detail very shortly. Okay? Since that time, though, we say to ourselves, we have to see if this stuff really is going to work. We're going to have to see if it works with our tabulation equipment because it's never been tested before. Okay? So really what I'd like to do to start, I'm going to introduce who's going to be here, who's going to be talking about what. Okay? And they're going to run with it. First of all, we have Lydia Henry, the county recorder. We have Karina Sumner. She's my deputy elections director. We have Amy Mitchell, who is the Mojave County election specialist. She speaks, she'll let you know who she is. Okay. Now, Lydia's going to talk about the role. We expanded this a little bit because we believe it's very important that people understand how the elections process basically works. Okay? Now, Lydia will discuss the role of the recorder's office in the elections process. Then Amy will discuss the role of the elections department, the role of the elections department in the elections process. Amy will also explain what ballot guard paper is, and I will then come and discuss the efficiency of tallying and ballot guard ballot paper. Lydia will then come in and do the recorder's current ballot security measures, how ballots are handled at this time and the security factors. Then Karina is going to discuss the same thing on the elections end. And then, last but not least, after you've heard this, Karina is going to discuss the ballot security options that currently exist and other ballot security measures that we hope to be developed and become acceptable to the Mojave County Board of Supervisors to consider for using in future elections. There's other things out there. We're going to let you know about that. Now, the 4 objectives that we will accomplish in this presentation. First, the performance of ballot guard paper. Second, to educate all in attendance the basic election functions and how they split between the recorder's office and elections department. Third, the current security ballot measures that will have to be in place, that have been in place for at least the last 10 years. And the improvements have happened, when they were necessary down the road. And fourth, alternative ballot paper security measures that may be able to be implemented. We can work with Runbeck Security Services to create new printing security measures on the ballots. We would also be part of a pioneering effort by a California printing vendor called ProVote Solutions, who has a product called Ghost Mark paper that is currently being used in Weld County, Colorado. They were the beta test. They've used them for 1 or 2 elections or something in 2024. That being the case, I'm going to turn it over to Lydia.
Good morning, everyone. Could we please have the slides on the projection? Thank you. The Elections Department versus the Recorder's Office. We are 2 separate departments, but we work very well together. The elected recorder is chosen by the voters, whose duties include managing voter registration, mail-in voting, in-person early voting, and maintaining public records. The election director is usually appointed by the Board of Supervisors and County Manager for including all election aspects, candidate filing, ballot creation, and vote tabulation. And that is Director Temper. In the Recorder's Office, we have 3 divisions. We have the Recording Division, the Records Management, and then Voter Registration. During elections, we are responsible for managing the voter registration and maintaining the voter rolls, verifying petitions as required, overseeing 27 days of in-person early voting, including the logics of staffing and obtaining those locations, mailing mandatory notices to voters ahead of elections, administering early voting for all mail ballots requests, verifying signatures on all early ballots before tabulation, and we distribute daily, weekly, and quarterly early ballot reports to political parties. And I'll hand it over to Amy.
Members of the board, my name is Amy Mitchell. I'm the election specialist here at Mojave County, and I'm going to give you the brief overview of the responsibilities of the elections department. So the first thing that we do is we accept all the candidate nomination filings. We then process the candidate campaign finance filings. We facilitate the initiative, referendum, and recall processes. We also prepare, approve, and arrange for the printing of our ballots. We hire and train poll workers, as well as securing poll sites for Election Day. We program, maintain, and test election equipment and their products. This is what we call logic and accuracy testing. We also tabulate the ballots on Election Day, and that's both the early ballots that we collect from the recorder's office or those cast on Election Day. And then we are also responsible for reporting all of Mojave County's election results. We then conduct post-election day audits of the election processes and the election results. And that's when we hand our final canvas of the results over to you guys. So on April 21st of this year, the Board of Supervisors awarded Runbeck Election Services the election printing contract with the addition of using Ballot Guard ballot paper, which is a trademark product created by Runbeck. At which point, Runbeck sent some of their Ballot Guard paper stock for us to perform our logic and accuracy testing on the product. Before Director Temper discusses the results, we wanted to give you a brief overview of what Ballot Guard ballot paper is. So the Ballot Guard ballot paper has 4 security measures. The first one is the invisible fibers, which are integrated into the ballot paper, which can be viewed with a UV light, but cannot be seen with the naked eye. Secondly, it has a proprietary watermark, which is designed and held by Runbeck Services, that's embedded into the ballot paper, which can be seen when held up to almost any light source. It also has an infrared taggant, which is an inert, invisible coating, which is built into the paper that's designed to reflect a specific and unique light wavelength. The IR scanner will show a positive result if that specific and unique light frequency is emitted and reflected back. Finally, the last embedded detail is, unlike other ballot paper, this ballot does not have any added fluorescence, so it will not glow under the UV light. This is what's called UV dead paper. The final additional security measure that can be printed on the ballot is a 1.8 custom text that can appear in strategic places anywhere on the ballot that can only be seen with a high-powered magnifying glass. So these security measures would be authenticated by the Elections Department during ballot processing. It's important to note that voters would not be able to observe many of these security features as they would not have the specific equipment required to do so. That would just be held by the Elections Department. And it's also worth noting that Ballot Guard has not been used in any election anywhere as of yet. With that, I'm going to hand you over to Director Tembert, who will talk about about the results of our logic and accuracy testing.
Got just one. I got to click. Okay. Now, the summary of the efficiency of tallying ballots on Ballot Guard paper. Now, Ballot Guard paper tallied all the races and the candidates in our test properly. However, it was inefficient to get to the end results. Many pick errors occurred. That is when a tabulator grabs two ballots at a time, which jams and stops the tabulator. Many multi-feed errors occurred. That's something different. Very similar, but it's different. It feeds two ballots through the scanner at a time into the untallied reject tray of the scanner, which needs to go back, just like the first ones do, to eventually be tabulated properly. Now, this requires the ballots to be reran repeatedly, costing more staff hours and potential delay in reporting results. Now, Mojave County and election systems and software engineers experience the same type of errors when testing Ballot Guard paper on central count tabulators. Now, while tabulating 3,236 ballots through our ballot tabulators, the following results occurred. We did a very extensive study on this. We took 850 ballots, approximately, whatever number I had in, the same exact test deck we had for the general election of 2024. Marked them exactly the same, knew what the results were going to be, came up with the same results, but seen how they went, how well they were efficiently ran through our tabulators compared to regular ballot paper, which the tabulators were built on to run. Is a specific type of paper, more or less, certain thickness, certain this, certain that, and there. It was not designed to run on something like this Ballot Guard paper. Okay? Now, what we had was the standard Runbeck ballot paper that they use and Ballot Guard ballot paper. So we used, just picking out one of our scanners, we've got two different types of scanners, central count scanners. When we were using regular paper, out of those ballots, we received 0 pick errors, 4 multi-feeds, which is a 0.4% error ratio. Now, when we use Ballot Guard paper, we had 54 pick errors, 191 multi-feeds, which is a 5.9% error ratio. Now, details on the Mojave County Ballot Guard can be found in Exhibit 3, the Ballot Guard Counterfeit Study Measure. Former Cochise County Recorder David Stevens reported on the Ballot Guard paper can be found in Exhibit 2 of the Ballot Guard Counterfeit Measure Study. It's a study. I say the word study because we spent 2.5 months doing this approximately. On February 21st, 2022, Recorder Stevens did a test of 48 Ballot Guard ballots. His report was not detailed enough to determine the effectiveness of using Ballot Guard ballots. Recorder Stevens' report was vague and did not talk about the efficiency of how the ballots ran through the tabulators, but it did say the votes were tabulated correctly. The report's in the study, very detailed. Now, the recommendation after the thorough testing of the Mojave County Ballot Department is to not print ballots on Ballot Guard paper and use Ballot Guard paper for Mojave County elections. Now, I got a little caveat to this, what I just picked up over the weekend. ES&S has been testing and coming up with the same results we are with their tabulators, because I sent them ballots. I let them mark them, whatever to do. And they were coming up with the same results we were, roughly speaking, right? But they sent ballots to one of their facilities in Iowa, another testing facility, another group of engineers, to see what they can do, to see if they can make their machines proper, I don't want to say properly function, that's not the right word. They still tally properly, okay? But be able to pick the ballots at the rate they're supposed to be picked. We have 350 ballots a minute that we can scan, and we need that amount of time to get through all the ballots that we have to get through. This would cause this, at the way it sits, a really long delay in the process. And the possibility of errors, because you're pulling ballots out that are going to jams. You're pulling errors out of the outstack trays. You're working with another partner, or take two people on each machine. They work in cohort, watching each other to help each other through to make sure everything is kept in time. We balance every batch of ballots we come through as we do it. We know how many are in every single batch that we do. And we do this. That can lead to errors where, if they ran through efficiently, they would not be present. Now, I'm turning it. Is it your turn again? It's Lydia's turn now. Okay? Okay. You don't have to talk to me anymore.
Hello again. So the current measures that we have for security in the Recorder's Department is for mail ballots. All mail ballots are sent to voters that have requested one. Either that's at their initial time of registering to vote, getting on the active early voting list, or completing their 90-day notice that they received 90 days prior to an election requesting a ballot, or it could have been contacting our office via phone or email to request one for that specific election. In-person ID is required, similar as it is on election day. All voters must present a valid ID that matches the information in the voter registration database prior to being issued a ballot at any in-person early voting location. Signature verification is completed on all returned mail ballots. They are scanned and signatures are verified by the voter registration staff using the voter registration system to compare the signature on the affidavit envelope to the voter record. As well as chain of custody. Each time a ballot changes custody to early voting workers, to staff members, they're required to complete chain of custody documents to log when, where, and why a ballot was moving throughout the process. This includes before ballots are voted as well as they are after.
Good morning, Chairman Langfelter, members of the board. I'm going to talk to you guys about the Elections Department current security measures. So to start off, there is always identification required at the polls. So if somebody's going to vote in person on election day, they are required to show identification. If they do not have proper identification, they must vote a provisional ballot that will then be returned to the recorder's office to determine if it should be counted or not. Our electronic poll books that we have at the poll sites do let the poll workers know if somebody has already checked in at another location. We have ballot reports that show how many ballots the poll site started with, how many were voted, how many were spoiled, how many were unused, and how many early ballots were dropped off on election day. Our poll workers, troubleshooters, sheriff's deputies, staff, anybody that's handling those ballots always has to fill out a chain of custody. We have that chain of custody at the end of the night showing who had those, what the serial numbers were on those ballot boxes, who handled it, at what time they were released, and brought back to our office. On election night, when we were tabulating the ballots, we balanced the number of ballots that were counted to the total number of voters that were checked in at that poll site. Last, I'm going to talk to you guys about the alternatives to Ballot Guard. As Alan mentioned before, we do have another vendor that does produce ballot security paper. They are called ProVote Solutions. So on August 28th, we actually did meet with Runbeck and discuss the Ballot Guard paper with them. We told them that it was not very efficient to run, as Alan had mentioned, so we asked them if they had other options besides Ballot Guard that they could provide to us with security measures. They said they were going to talk to their paper manufacturer and their designers to see if there was additional security measures that they could print on the ballots instead of embedding them in the ballots. Once we have that information, we will bring it back to you guys at the board if you guys wish to hear that, so we can bring that back. But in the meantime, we did have another company approach us called ProVote Solutions. They are a California-based printer and paper supplier. Weld County, Colorado uses them. They've been using them for about 4 elections now, and they have been successful in doing that. They printed ballots for us, and we tested them. They had 3 security measures that were printed on the ballots instead of embedded in them. Those 3 measures were county seals in different colors, and they're in different orientations along the ballot. An infrared tagget, much like the ballot guard paper has, and they can also do microprint on the ballot, just like ballot guard does. So those are their three measures. Their security measures cannot be seen with the naked eye, much like the Runbeck ballot guard security measures. County seals can be printed in ink that can only be seen with UV lights. Ghostmark paper can also be sent to Runbeck. They are a paper supplier. They're not just a printer. So they can be supplied to Runbeck. They can print the security measures, send it to Runbeck. That way Runbeck would still be our ballot printer. Ghostmark paper is printed on paper, meaning the same specifications as a standard Runbeck paper. So when we were running them, it had the same weight and things like that as the standard ballot or the standard Runbeck paper that we've used in the past. So it did run efficiently through our tabulators. We were not having the same errors that we did with the Runbeck ballot guard paper. We don't know the exact cost, but they did tell us that it would be 6 cents extra at least. They would be shipping it to Runbeck, so it would actually be more than that, but we would have to have a conversation with Runbeck, Provo Solutions, and us to come to a definite cost to give to you guys. But with that, I will open it to questions from the board.
Supervisor Borelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So are you suggesting not using Runbeck, to use the ProVote company?
So you guys directed us to use ballot guard. We went and tested it. We're saying that it's not efficient, so we would rather use something else that would be a little bit more efficient, like this, or whatever Runbeck comes back to us and suggests that they can do for us. So we would like to talk more with them and see what other security measures there are, just so that the ballots do run efficiently. So yes, I would suggest that our department would suggest that we don't use Runbeck ballot guard.
Brain is 100% correct. Runbeck is our printer. ProVote doesn't really want to be our printer, at least so they told me necessarily. They have a product. They print as well. They're in a different market than us. Okay? That doesn't mean they wouldn't do it if we wanted to do it, right? But basically speaking, they want to get their product out there, which is a pretty darn good product. Okay? So Runbeck does so many things in addition to just printing something on the face of a ballot. They do so many things with the mail ballots, the mail, in which Lydia's organization works with, that's the super value of having Runbeck Election Services as our vendor. Okay? Who prints on it and prints what you want, we can get that done. But I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm sure they could do what we need to have done, but I don't know to what degree. But we do know what Runbeck can do.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to address that. I've visited and had a tour of the Runbeck facility, and I've compared what Maricopa County does with Runbeck compared to what we do when with Runbeck. And Maricopa County has so many links in the chain that Runbeck does that we do not do, which makes us a heck of a lot more efficient. But I think the intent of this board is for us to set the example for the state and set a standard to lead and show other counties that what's more important is voter confidence, because it's not there. It's even the last election. Everybody's happy with the last election, but it's still not there at 100% where it should be. And this is actually encourages, we need to get party leaderships out there to encourage people to go in-person early voting and get things done. But my question is going to come down to this. What is more important, speed or accuracy? Because in your own analysis, you've said that the tabulators, in your conclusion, the ballot card paper properly tabulates every time. So, what is more? I understand you put the 6 hours extra on that. That's going to take more time to get those scanned through, but and of course that's going to be an extra cost. But also, just to verify, don't we put an additional $500,000 in your budget that's kind of like they're on a contingency? You just keep rolling over every year. You keep extending that. So I do believe that there's enough funding there. So my question is, what's more important, speed or accuracy?
Accuracy is more important, and we do not get $500,000 in our budget. As I put that aside for electronic poll book replacement if necessary. I get $20,000 each time in case I have to have an election for somebody that wasn't scheduled to have. So, okay, well, let me tell you this. This is what I would love to suggest, okay? The ballot guard paper just really isn't it. It's the way our tabulators do it right at this particular moment. Runbeck has never had, okay, they did this because it was brought to them because of when you were in the Senate, it was brought to them about like a dozen or something different factors, and wouldn't it be great to have this stuff in ballots? And I'm for this, okay? I like that whole concept. I'm just letting you know, I'm not fighting nothing, okay, at all. I just want them to be efficient, and I want them to be correct. That's the thing. That's the only thing I care about in this whole world with tabulation are those two factors. Got it. Now, Runbeck had no way of determining. They said, we'll answer your need, okay? People that you know is who started this. I know that. So what they said, fine, it's great, okay? I can have this made. They had no way of ever testing it. They don't have tabulation equipment. Who is it? Mojave County becomes the person who does it. Fine. Spend a couple of months doing it. It's not working. It's not working well unless election systems and software takes their equipment and somehow adjust how the feed rollers work, that we can, it's a grittiness, it's a stickiness, it's a tackiness thing that's going on. This is what I'm hearing. They have not given me a full report yet, and they never will. They may never give me a full report. I am very surprised that ES&S, the wonderful company that they are, that they even took the interest in checking out this paper because they got an interest. And they said, we're going to send it through our engineers and we'll kind of see. Because this could be the wave of the future, right? Mojave County is the poster child for this. Okay. Once again, really cool, I think. Okay. What I suggest is this. Runbeck has never been posed, more or less, with anything else besides, well, what else can you print on us for security? Because nobody's come up and said, wow, what else can you do? We want this to happen or whatever. They told me they're going to work with their design team, and they're doing it now. I know that because we've been on a phone conversation with them about 3 weeks to a month ago, and say, what can you come up with that is really cool that I can talk to you guys about, okay? Runbeck, I think, can do great stuff. Now, we know about ProVote Solutions. ProVote Solutions has a cool product, but what we have is we have two. They're not competing. They are competing. They're both big in the industry. But at the same time, they don't cut each other. They help each other. I know that for a fact, okay? They will work together with each other to make this work. I was told by both organizations, Alan, we will make this work for you if you want that to happen, okay? So, we don't have, the first ballot will not be printed until May of next year, okay? No, I'm not going to push it off. I haven't stopped since the day of April, and I won't stop until we decide what we're going to do. But the first ballot will not be printed until May. I want to give Runbeck the opportunity to come to me with a design. Okay, like, somebody comes to you with a design or something, right? And then I want to try it. They'll print me the ballots. They'll do everything. We'll see how things work out. And then we can pose that to you. But I can also then get in more depth if you don't like what you're seeing with ProVote Solutions. Okay? And then third, if you want to continue to use whatever, we've never used it, but you know where I'm getting from. If you want to say, I want that regardless, my department has always worked at the pleasure of the board, and it will always continue to do that. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Vice Chair, and I'm not concerned about which vendor gets a contract, but you know what? There's two out there that's the free market, and they can come up with solutions. What we're trying to do is we've identified an issue. We want to make sure it's not going to be a problem, because we want to solve the problem issue of making sure that there's no counterfeit ballots in the atmosphere, and we want to make sure that that ballot cannot be copied off on a copy machine and run through a tabulator again. We want to make sure that it's a legitimate piece of paper, just like our currency, that it cannot be counterfeited. Because what is most important is that ballot itself is the currency of every citizen in this country, that their vote counts, and that ballot is their money. It's their money, and we need to make sure that it gets that voter confidence is increased. Elections belong to the people. It's not here for elections, government efficiency. But we need to make government run as efficiently as possible. So I'm really not concerned with what vendor. As long as we can come up with some ballots that have counterfeit countermeasures on there, I'll be satisfied. And I'm sure the citizens will be satisfied. My point.
That on questions for Director Temperate or for Recorder Henry. Director Temperate. So Runbeck made paper that they didn't bother testing on voting equipment?
They did. You want me to answer after this, right? They have no ability to test it. They don't own tabulation equipment. They cannot own tabulation equipment. They cannot own the program. It's not their gig. They hit the specifications that were asked of them to do. They said, we can have that produced, and then it's up to you to see if it works. That's honest to goodness. They have no way of testing it.
Supervisor Burley.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit more history on it. When I was in the Senate, we stuck $12 million in the state treasurer to sit there to draw down for a pilot program. Cochise County, David Stevens, the recorder, he drew down some of that money to get some of his ballot paper made through Runbeck, and they have 20 tons of this paper. So it's already there. It's already done. And Cochise County, they're the ones that did the initial testing. So they have the paper already, and they're just we've adopted pretty much the same standard on that.
It just strikes me as strange that if you're going to develop a product, that you wouldn't test your product on the equipment it's expected to run on, whether they had to go directly to ES&S and use one of their ES&S equipment at their so-called secure facility.
Maybe ES&S said no.
Well, no, I'd like to address that too.
Supervisor Borelli.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Recorder Stevens, former state representative David Stevens, he got with ES&S, Unison, and Dominion, and they all did the test ballots, and they all came through the same way, that they all tabulated correctly. But I understand you guys do all these big stacks and stuff like that, and things get kicked out.
You know what? I have a feeling that Recorder Stevens used a full site scanner to do it. It's called a DS200. It's a lot less complicated, but it's one sheet at a time. It's the type that would be at the polling location when you went and voted if we had that in Mojave County. 10 of the 15
We had
counties,
that in Mojave County once upon a time.
We did. But in 2016, we decided, the Board of Supervisors, we went to the central count system. There's a lot of different
Because you used to drop your own ballot in the tabulation machine at the poll.
Yeah,
Right.
that was a long
Bet
time
it didn't
ago.
jam.
Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't, yeah. But these are built a lot like that one that you remember. I mean, a lot like that was
Sure.
an optical scanner, digital. But the rollers, the feed rollers on all those things are so much more simple. It's like feeding it through a printer upstairs. Now, I just got to pose one thing, though. We gave a little bit of a talk here, right, on purpose, because I wanted you to know, besides who handles what responsibilities, if you didn't know, or anybody, audience behind us and whatever. But what's important is, you may never vote us. There's never going to be a ballot that's not real that gets into that scanner. I'm the guy in front of it. I will guarantee you, I know every sheet of paper, everywhere at every time. There's never going to be a counterfeit ballot that gets to me. Now, proving it otherwise, that's okay. Oh, that'd be great. That's like show and tell, okay? That's just an extra added bonus. But I will guarantee you, as long as I'm here, and I've always been there, there's never been a ballot that's counterfeit, and there never will be. That's a guarantee.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor
yeah, I
Gould.
think we should take a look at the Pro Vote and see what kind of a price they can come up, see what kind of product they can come up
We
with.
could do that. Yeah, that's cool.
I'm not tied to a particular vendor either. I'm just, like Supervisor Borelli, I'm concerned with the public perception that elections are secure. And that's the most important thing to me, because I do not want people to quit voting because they think that it's not secure and that their vote does not count.
I got it.
Thank you,
I got
sir.
it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Alan, I think you've done a terrific job during your tenure here. But to your point, how long are you going to be here? Are you going to be here for another decade?
No.
I didn't think so. So, I mean, not everybody is a superstar like you, you know.
You are.
I'm not going to be here forever either. There's a lot of people that are happy about that. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My big question today is, which dog breed won the election at the county fair? My granddaughters were voting against my, I guess their only choice was to vote the machine, since we had no paper ballots, but you heard about that. But they enjoyed it. You could pick your favorite dog breed, your favorite beach. What else was on there? Corinne?
Favorite ways to spend time. If Election Day should be a national holiday and if you should allow Saturday voting. And to answer your question, we will have those done today and voter registration will be posting them on their page. And if you would like, I will personally send you an email with the results.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Borelli, yes.
One more question. I'd like Mr. Temper, because I know he's not going to live forever and he's going to retire someday soon, but I want to make on the record that the intent is, which is more important, speed or accuracy?
Accuracy.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Supervisor Lettman, Supervisor Martin? Nothing? Thank you to everybody that gave testimony during the presentation today. Appreciate that. We'll move to our second presentation this morning, which is a presentation and update on Entrada by Kathy Tackett-Hicks. Mr. Barberich, thank you for joining us this morning as well.
Good morning, Supervisors. Thank you for inviting us here today. I'm Al Barberich. I'm the developer of Entrada. We appreciate the opportunity to give you a progress report and an update of all we've been working on. I think the timing is good. Chairman Lingenfelter and Supervisor Gould, you were on the board that approved our plans originally, and I've had the opportunity to meet with Supervisors Martin, Borelli, and Lettman since then to talk about our plans as well. But as a refresher and for the benefit of everyone listening today, I'd like to just review a few key facts about Entrada. I went a little too far there. There it is. Okay. No. Just moving ahead on me. Am I doing something wrong with the mouse here? Maybe I can. Apologize for that.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the location of Entrada, just to remind you all, is about 25 miles south of the Hoover Dam. It's the first private property that you come to entering Arizona from Nevada. The whole plan encompasses about 10,000 acres. It includes a diverse mix of land uses, including residential, commercial, industrial, airport, and open space. It will include central water and wastewater treatment, as well as effluent recycling. It will include a wide range of community amenities, including parks, trail systems, community centers, schools, recreational opportunities. Our initial focus will be on industrial development and logistics facilities in an effort to bring new economic development and new jobs to this area. Next slide shows some of the consultants and different firms that we've been working with to move our plans forward. We're trying to hire the best of the best, and when we started this project, we promised to endeavor to retain Arizona-based firms, and this list shows, I think, pretty well that we've kept that promise, and we plan to continue doing that and hiring as locally as possible as our construction and other things move forward. I'm funding all of these out of pocket. We've spent quite a bit of time and money working with all these different consultants and engineers and other firms. And the project remains debt-free, which I think is important to mention because that gives us maximum flexibility and control, and that we're not beholden to lenders and outside investors to move things forward. With that, Kathy's going to come up and talk in detail about some of the things that we've been working on, our accomplishments with these different firms.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have been working with Al on this for the last few years, very excited. It is very unique, and I've been doing, as all of you know, projects for 30 years. This is very unique, and we have a dynamic opportunity. When we first started, we knew that we had to do some basic things, which is what we have been doing. We needed to identify all the pertinent data on this site and all around, and we've been doing that. We needed to remove encumbrances that got in the way of us. And in this particular case, we have been focusing on the White Hills area of the Entrada project first. So all of our consultants that Al hired are top tier. It's very exciting to work with them because we know what we're doing. Our project engineer is Atwell Engineering. We're using the Atwell offices out of Phoenix. They have completed master water and wastewater studies so far. That's giving us our backbone infrastructure layout. Where are the wells? Where are the future wells? Where are the water tanks? Where's the wastewater facility going to be? That's our base document. We're going to use that when we go to the Corporation Commission. They've also completed a master drainage study, which covers that entire watershed basin. Everything flows into the detrital wash. In this location, you can see that little picture up there. The detrital wash kind of runs on the west side of our White Hills area. It is significant. We have been working with the county as well. Randy has helped us working with FEMA. So that is really a dynamic study that we'll use for the life of this project. Am I just rolling it down? Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to jump. Okay. Okay. So another outstanding consultant we have on this is Clear Creek Associates. They did the water study for this, the water analysis, hydrology. They worked on it a few different years to get that data. We did, in fact, receive the Arizona Department of Water Resources approval of our water adequacy statements. We got that last year, September, about a year ago right now. We submitted it initially as one giant adequacy request. ADWR asked us to split that, and we did, so we actually have 2 100-year adequacy statements, one for the northern and one for the southern portion. The airport potential is really dynamic. Al hired the best in the Southwest region, Kaufman Associates, to do studies on this. There is an existing 9,000-foot long dirt runway on there, which Al does fly in and out on his own plane. But we wanted to have them do a feasibility study to make sure there were no fatal flaws with pursuing an airport. That came back with a green light, which was awesome. Al went ahead and commissioned the conceptual site plan development to be done. Kaufman and Associates did lay out our airport facilities more. You can see it on there. Our technology uses, everything in compliance with the FAA. And I am really excited about this airport potential. We have done some planning for our first residential units. This first piece right here is 200-acre site. We are focusing on single-family residential with some pockets of higher density. The plan is focused around interconnecting park systems, interconnecting walkable transportation systems, bike trails, walking trails, open space areas. The first 200-acre site is on the north side of White Hills. We've also done some, in line with us, making sure we have all the right data for this, setting up this project to win, which is exactly what is going to happen because we're being so smart. We have done initial phase 1 environmental site studies for the entire White Hills area, and there are no areas of concern connected with that. So that review looks at if there's any old dumping areas or environmental issues that have to be addressed. So we're clean on that. We also did some geotechnical work. Both of this work was done by Terracon, again, leading consultants, and we are using their Tempe offices. That's where we go to meet with them. The geotechnical report came back. We did, I don't even know how many borings, 50? Oh, 45. Look at the picture, Kath. 45 borings, but we focused on the runway area, looking for those types of soils, see if we had a problem, or manufacturing areas and industrial areas. And then we also did some boring sites on the residential. So all of the documents I'm talking about are going to be used for the life of this project. Those are fundamental, foundational studies that we had to have done, and I feel good that we have those. Another area that we have been working with your director, Tammy Ursenbach, is on the foreign trade zone. This is a highly beneficial facet to any economic development plan. We've also worked directly with EY Global Trade, which is Ernst Young, that's your consultant on this. And those pink areas show the foreign trade zone area that we are focusing on, and approval of that would provide import-export businesses with federal and state incentives to locate at Entrada, and we've already had a significant amount of interest. So right now we have numerous things in the process. We've completed a lot. It's been, we have multiple things going, working in parallel, working in tandem off each other with all of these consultants. Currently, we've got a market study and economic analysis going on for the project. That's being completed by RC Elco Management Consulting. We want to make sure the market study aligns and streamline with what we're presenting as a product. We are completing the massive comprehensive transportation study. We're doing that with Lokahi, and your Steve Otoski has been very kind in taking time to work with us in meetings as we push that through. That is a huge project in this area because we have the I-11 design corridor things we have to implement, as well as the county's transportation network. We had a huge ALTA survey completed, and if you've done land transactions, normally they're 1 or 2 sheets. The ALTA survey that we had completed by our Atwell surveyor is well over 20 sheets. It's been a long process, but again, absolutely fundamental to have this base document that everything can be based upon. So that will be something that we will get recorded, so it'll be open to everyone. Currently, we're also still pursuing our land use planning. So we did, over in the past year, get our hard zoning for all this, the general plan hard zoning. It does free us up to provide options that work with the market, that work with this project. So we're clearing those encumbrances, and we're moving forward with that 200-acre parcel. And probably just some important things that we have to complete right now, and this has to do with removing encumbrances on the property that really, inhibit the development. So one thing we have to do is complete the master transportation plan, and that coordination effort with ADOT Mojave County. That is a base document we will have. That is a very fluid document. That thing is going to move all over, but we are hitting it hard to try to get it figured out. So that's ongoing. We do have to terminate an existing CCN on this property. That is an encumbrance on a portion of the White Hills area that was left over from the Jim Rhodes project. So they have a CCN, Certificate of Convenience and Necessity, through the Arizona Corporation Commission. That's an encumbrance on some of the property, and Al's been working on that to remove that. That's also tied in with the old Pravada project. I know it's called something else now, but we needed to sever that Perkin Mountains relationship from our project. We are not affiliated with it at all. And in a couple of days, it looks like that final step will be done. If we can remove that encumbrance from our property, separate from that project, we're going to be able to submit our own CCN for our own utility companies. So that finally clears the way. So the next one does identify that. We got to get our stuff together, our utilities. We have our master water, wastewater. So we're going to be in a good position to start submitting to the Corporation Commission. I will tell you that process is about a year long. There's nothing fast about it. It's a bummer. That's the way it goes. So we'd hope to start a little sooner, but we're just getting the go-ahead here in a couple days. And then the last thing I think will be coming up to you in the next month or two, or however long, is kind of a very large abandonment request. We have some legacy rights-of-way easements, other things that encumber the property. There's over 6 miles of roadway on there that's from the legacy plats of almost 100 years ago. So we're going to clean up the property in that way, and we're working with the surveyor.
Okay, I'll finish up here. This is just a slide on some of our early development plans and goals. One of the things that we'd like to do on site is establish a commercial plant nursery so we can start growing our own landscape material, as well as decorative rock and boulders and that sort of thing for landscapes. Another thing we'd like to get started on is to establish a concrete and asphalt plant to supply construction materials for roads, sidewalk, curb and gutter, building slabs. We have an existing aggregate mine south of White Hills Road that we previously leased to Fisher Construction for Highway 93 improvements. So those are already ADOT approved materials there, and it just makes sense for us to use our locally sourced resources. We do already have a couple of new businesses coming to White Hills. We haven't been actively promoting Entrada, but the word's gotten out, and there are a couple businesses that want to come to the area. These are not going to be in Entrada proper because we don't have the utility systems set up yet for them, but they're going to be locating on the west side of Highway 93. The first one's called Just for Show. They do custom fabrication for things like trade shows and special events, mostly in Las Vegas, and they are relocating to White Hills from Las Vegas on a 10-acre site. This is an example of some of the stuff that they do over on the right there. Integrity Steel and Stone is the second one. They do structural steel supply and framing, and they're planning to move out from Boulder City on initially a 5-acre site with an option to take another 5 acres for a total of 10. Another exciting opportunity that we have at Entrada is a potential for a new data center. We've been working with a firm called Clean Cloud Energy. I know data centers are a hot topic these days, so we're glad to speak with you now regarding our plans and progress at Entrada so that we can make sure that what we're trying to do is in alignment with the county's goals. We are in contract for a site in our industrial park with Clean Cloud Energy. The power needed to supply this center would be a combination of renewable energy from Clean Cloud's proposed White Hills solar project, which is on a BLM land lease immediately north and adjacent to Entrada. And then the nighttime power would come from the WAPA 345 kV transmission line that comes from the Meade substation in Nevada. Any water use at a data center would come from Entrada's existing ADWR groundwater allocation, and would be treated and recycled to the greatest extent possible. This, we think, aligns in spirit, at least, with Supervisor Gould's proposed ordinance regarding data centers in Mojave County, although it might not exactly meet the specific language. But the important points are that this center would source its own power and water and not use existing resources from the grid or municipality. And what this could do for the county is deliver a world-class technology center, and it would draw an end user that would likely be one of the world's largest technology companies. We've already had meetings with a couple of household names there, would generate a lot of high-paying jobs and an exceptional amount of tax revenue while placing very little burden on county services. Clean Cloud is in active discussions, and they've put down deposits for the interconnection study with the WAPA transmission lines that would power that site. And this is what everybody always asks and wants to know is what's the development timeline, and when are we going to see some dirt moving? And I'll hedge myself here by saying it's difficult to estimate because we do have to go through some state regulatory agencies still. The most key of those are ADOT and the Corporation Commission. As Kathy mentioned, we do interconnect with the Highway 93, which ADOT has jurisdiction over, so they have to approve our plans there, and that's why we're working on that large transportation study right now. So with that said, we expect our initial commercial development target will be 2027, with residential coming a little bit later in 2028 or 2029. And that's because of the additional platting process that we have to go through for the residential, and the fact that we have to have the centralized water and wastewater before we can do our residential product. The data center that I just mentioned, construction could start by 2028 if things go well. And we think the full build out is a very long time frame, 30 to 50 years for this entire project to develop out. So with that, we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Barberich. Supervisor Martin.
Yes. Is there going to be a casino up there as part of this development?
It's not in the plans, no.
Not in the plans? Okay. I'd be surprised how many people called and asked about it. Because, whatever. The solar project. Initially, when BLM proposed that solar project, you guys had said that you had some concerns because of the airport solar panels reflecting and disorienting the pilots. Is that resolved?
Yeah, the newer solar panels don't have that. They have more of a matte coating, so they don't reflect sunlight the way that some of the earlier versions of those do.
And if I got this right, though, those solar panels are going to be on public land.
Yeah, that's the Clean Cloud Energy has a BLM lease on that land to the north of us there, and that's why we got in contact with them, because we're looking at our power resources in the area, and we were looking at bringing power up, all the way from Griffith and improving the power lines and substations along the way there. And then, I said I should call these guys that are just immediately to the
Is
to the north of
Unisource
us.
not going to supply any power for you?
So Unisource has the CCN as a power provider for the area. So anything that we do has to involve Unisource, but it will involve upgrades to the Unisource transmission system in order to be able to power our needs up there. But it's much easier to do if it's immediately adjacent to us versus coming from 40 miles away.
The solar panel, how many acres of land are they talking about doing up there?
They have a lease, I believe it's for approximately 10,000 acres.
So we're gonna look like a little Henderson.
With
I mean,
with the panels there.
yeah, if you put 10,000 acres of panels up there, Mojave County's going to turn into a little Henderson or a big Henderson. I don't know how many they got, but so I'm going to say this right up front now. I'm against that because I'm against converting public lands into single use and putting solar panels on 10,000 acres of Arizona property, public lands, is just something that just goes against my grain. And I understand the need for power. I understand the idea that the cost would be more effective if you could get it there rather than running it. But I think, and while I fully support this project, I think you've got a great thing going there. And someday it's going to be something else. It could be the new capital of Mojave County. I don't know. But anyway, one thing that I will say, and I'll go on the record right now saying I will not support 10,000 acres of solar panels on public lands in northwest Arizona to feed this project.
Yeah, we understand, and we've had that discussion. We're not in control of that project. That's between.
And I understand that, but you're going to have a great play in it because of your utilizing of the power and everything off there. So you may not be able to regulate it, but if you are a proponent of it, if you support converting 10,000 acres of public lands into single-use solar panels, then you're gonna have a great voice in that. And like I say, I don't know about anybody else, but that just rubs me against the grain, and I will not go on record as supporting for you or for BLM converting 10,000 acres of public land into solar panels. I don't want it to look like Little Henderson, Nevada. And I don't think that people in Mojave County want to see it either.
Appreciate the presentation. Mojave County is, just so everybody knows, we're already on record when the federal government put out this huge solar EIS. Mojave County is on record with being opposed to tens of thousands of acres of solar panels, but that doesn't have anything to do with anything that you're in control over. Mojave County has reached out through comments, opposition comments to the federal government saying we're opposed to that in Mojave County. So, but that's not on you. Other comments, Supervisor Burley?
Yes, thank you. Valid point. The federal government already did this. And if he doesn't tap into some of that energy, it's already going to Nevada. Yeah, so,
Supervisor Martin.
I don't think it's already done. I mean, if they've done it, where were we at the table? I don't recall us going to BLM and sitting with them, talking about that 10,000 acre project. I know it was on a list of a bunch, and we said universally we're against it, but I don't specifically recall Mojave County being part of that. And like I say, Travis, I think that when Entrada is looking to get their power from it, they're a player. Whether they have the ultimate control is one thing, but they're a player. If they're right there, and if they support doing that, if they support the BLM's plan, it's going to put us at odds. I mean, unless we decide we're okay with converting our desert into a Little Henderson, and I'm not part of that.
Yeah, I think Mojave County is opposed to that. I know it doesn't really have much to do with the conversation, but Manager Alters, did the county in previous years, did we not come out with written comments opposing some of these multi-thousands of acres of solar fields? I think I remember we sent comments in response to EIS documents and things like that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. To the best of my recollection, and I will verify it when the opportunity presented itself, when Bureau of Land Management was going through approval on this process and the comment review period was open, we, Mojave County, came to our board with opposition comments. You approved them and we submitted them. So yes, we are on record as opposing solar on public land, and I will review the records and refresh your memories with whatever comments we submitted.
It may not be a bad idea to put that on a future agenda, just the current status of what remains. I know that there were some contemplated areas. One of them was by Mineral Park Mine, and that one was nixed. They got rid of that one. Remember that. But
again, there were a number of conceptual projects as well as local specific projects that we brought to the board for approval of comments, and we submitted those. I will dig those up and provide them to you, the board members.
Other comments? Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think a lot of these solar projects are going to end up fizzing because the Trump administration is pulling back the ridiculous incentives for them. Currently, California produces too much solar energy. They cannot get it where they need to get it. So what they are doing currently, the solar farms get a clean air incentive from the state of California that's valued greater than the value of the electricity. They're currently dumping that electricity into Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico at sometimes no charge, or actually paying utilities to take it because they're making so much money on this clean air incentive out of California. And this is what happens when government messes with the free market. But I think those are going to fizz. I'm concerned, though, is that you talked about that WAPA 345 kVA line. Is there excess capacity in that line?
Yeah, Clean Cloud Energy has identified excess power in that line. and to Supervisor Martin's point too, I believe that the current policy of the Trump administration is that none of these solar projects move forward without the president's signature. So that's the state of affairs. And we're looking at our options for power, and if this comes to fruition, we'd like to be able to use the power generated in Mojave County and in Arizona. But to all your points, it may or may not ever happen.
Sure.
In which case we've got to make
The data center is going to use more power than your entire development.
It'll be
They use an enormous amount of electricity.
Heavy power user, and that's why we're trying to make sure any and all of that power is sourced either from new generation or from outside of the local grid.
And I'm surprised that there's excess capacity on the transmission lines, because we continue to put new transmission lines up across the state.
That's one of the attractive.
I don't know if I'm going to have to get a report from WAPA, which I probably can't read. But because smarter guys than me put that stuff together. But I'm curious, is there extra capacity in electric? Because if we're going to take a look at an ordinance on limiting data centers, and we're going to maybe take a look at option of bringing in outside power, then I need to know, is that actually available, since I've already called everybody's bluff on dry cooling and the fact it doesn't work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be worried about a ban on wet cooling. But it's something we need to take a look at, I think, in general. It's not specifically for your project, but it does concern your project since you're considering a data center.
Yeah, I don't have personal knowledge to the capacity there, but according to Clean Cloud, and they've spent some good money to move forward with the interconnection application and paid the deposits on that, because they've identified that there is extra power there that's available, and that the Meade substation area is according to them one of the most liquid power markets in the country there, because of all the hydroelectric power there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Supervisor Lettman.
Yeah, Alan and Kathy, thank you very much for the presentation, the information. You have my complete support.
Any other comments? Well, great discussion. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda this morning, which is items 5 through 40. Supervisor Lettman, would you like to remove any items from consent this morning?
I would. Item 40.
Sir. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items 12, 13, 14, 17, 22, and 27.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Borelli. And Supervisor Martin, would you like to remove any items?
I think you guys got them all.
Okay, and I'm not going to remove anything, so I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, minus items 12, 13, 14, 17, 22, 27, and 40.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it so ordered. We'll move to item number 12, approve a budget transfer of $48,066 within the automation fund from contingency to capital outlay for permitting software development. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we get an overview from Director Holtree, and then a member of the public requested that this be pulled.
Director Holtree.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Supervisors, thank you for this opportunity. This is funds that were supposed to be spent in FY25 with the initial setup of SmartGov. We encountered delays with SmartGov, and so they did not bill us until FY26. So that money was not spent in FY25. We did not budget for it in FY26, and so we're having to go to contingency, but the money rolled over from FY25.
All right, thank you. We do have one speaker, Mr. Chuck DeShazer, if you want to come to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Chuck DeShazer, 8778 Polaris Road, Topeka, Arizona. The reason I was interested in this item was because over the last 5 years, it's my understanding that we've lost about $2 million based on using Acela and now switching over to the new program, I don't really care where they move the money from or to. My concern is that we're now looking at going from $390,000 a year down to $57,000, I believe it is, and going up 5% per year over the next 5 years on this contract, which would tell me that we've been getting $40 per permit since 2006 to go into this fund. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting at the call to the public, I asked that this be brought forward to a future agenda so that we could get discussion and possible action to reduce the automation fee. If my numbers are correct, we're looking at approximately 3,000 permits per year being issued, and even at $20 a year, or $20 per permit, we're looking at $60,000 a year, which would more than cover the automation fee that we're discussing here. That inclusive would be more than enough. Then government's not here to make money on the backs of the people, so I would ask that you either do it today or put it on a future agenda to drop it from $40 to $20 on an automation fee, and try to figure out, why somebody over the last 5 years let us get $2 million into debt over this automation fee fund when we weren't making enough money to even cover the permits. That sounds like a lot of money every year to go towards, something that could have been covered already. Instead, we had development services determining how many chickens we're going to have in our yard and whether we're going to allow peacocks or roosters to be on a residential property. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
I have asked Director Holtree to take a look at that automation fee. So I'm sure he will take a look at it and we'll revisit it. And on the software, I think it was just you and I, Mr. Chairman, that were here when that decision was made. They brought a renewal of the existing software, and we said go find something cheaper, and they found something that did the job and was exceptionally cheaper, so I commend them for doing that and taking instruction. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Director Holtree.
points. Just a few quick points. Acela was not at $360,000 per year for the past 5 years. It only happened just more recently, about 1.5 to 2 years ago, that we switched to the on-premise to a cloud-based system that increased it from, it was roughly around 100,000, that it increased it to that 360. And so that's where we came to the board and said, hey, our automation fee isn't sufficient. We're going to either have to increase it. We received direction from the board to look somewhere else, and that's where we found SmartGov. So we have not been paying $360 for the past 5 years, but it does warrant the need for looking at the automation fee. I've already instructed my budget analyst to start looking at that fee to bring something to the board for changes, because I do believe now with this SmartGov solution, there is room for improvement on that fee. So we'll be bringing that to the board.
Other comments? Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Thank you. You said we haven't been paying $2 million?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Martin, no. It's, like I said previously, when it was an on-premise system, we were only paying about $100,000. And then it increased when we went to the cloud-based.
And when was that?
It was about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I believe. I would have to go and look exactly.
So you think for the past 2 years we paid $360,000 a year?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Martin, I'd have to go back and check at our invoices. I believe when we switched over to the cloud-based, I think we only paid for 1 year, and then we were looking at the new solution because it wasn't going to work with our automation fee that we had at that time. It wasn't going to be able to cover that additional cost, and that's why we came to the board. But luckily, we found a new solution that works for us.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions?
One more
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's interesting. We saw the same thing in my own business with QuickBooks. They moved from premises to cloud-based and then tripled the price. And it's just what stuff that happens, and it prompts you to go take a look at the other thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Director Holtry, I'd say also to tack onto what Supervisor Gould said, I applaud you and your staff. This board directed us, you guys, to go out and not only are we going to have completely online plan review, electronic plan review, submittal and approval, which is amazing. It's wonderful, but it's also going to cost us a whole lot less. It's going to be better all the way around. We've come a long ways, much more sophisticated in how we're handling not only that, but also legacy software subscriptions in general. So I think it's good. Appreciate it.
Motion to approve.
For that motion, do I have a second? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it. Do have it. So ordered. Thank you. Item number 13, approve and authorize the fiscal year budget for account 233415117 provided in the backup materials. This action will allow for the spending of grant funds that were excluded from the fiscal year 26 budget process due to a federal government process delay. The grant funding will be utilized for the following purposes: split funding for staff responsible for monitoring and investigating the communicable diseases as mandated by ARS 36-621 and ARS 36-661. Creation of one new position to provide health navigation services for Mojave County residents. Split funding for 2 staff members assigned to the ARPA-funded mobile health unit and covering all travel expenses related to communicable disease activities, including trainings, meetings, and conferences. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we get an overview from the director and then a member of the public wanted this pulled.
Good morning, Director Palmer.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. This is our enhanced lab capacity grant that was approved in December of 2024. At that time, we had the nurses, our epidemiologists, all split into this account, this grant. And then we had our mobile health unit staff also split into this too, because the ARPA funding needed to be relieved. But the what occurred is that in March, we received a stop work order from the federal government for this grant. That action went into litigation. About May, we received a letter saying that that was rescinded and that we could go ahead and utilize those funds. And so because of the timing of the rescinding of that order and then the budget process, we did not include this in the fiscal year 26 budget process. The original ask was for 2 health navigators. Due to the timing of the spend down for this grant, we adjusted it to having 1 health navigator. And I'm open to any other questions.
Questions for Director Palmer? Jennifer Esposito.
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. I realize this is grant money, and people in elected positions tend to view grant money as, it's free, who cares? You know, whatever you do with it, but it's free money. Well, technically it's not. I mean, the people that pay federal taxes, you know, pay into it. But when you deal with grant money, if you're going to take it and with whatever strings may be attached to it, you should make sure that you use it for the highest and the best purposes. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It happens rarely, but it does happen. And I do believe that twice since this new version of the board has convened in January, that I have asked you to take a look at this mobile health unit. I looked at it a long time ago. I mean, inside and everything. You know, you're funding something that can't be sterilized. You're funding something that the interior of which sort of looks like somebody's cousin built in the driveway. You know, it's sun bleached. It's the whole project needs to be audited. I'm going to say it again. You need to know exactly how many people are using it and whether the county is using these funds for the best and highest purpose, or if you should just 86 this program. And I say that because the people in need in the rural communities are on access. They don't need a vaccine wagon, a mobile health unit to come to them. They're already getting free services from the state. The people who don't need those kind of services already have health insurance. They're already getting what they need. But the thing is I've been tracking this mobile health unit. Every time I drive back and forth every day to my Golden Valley property, back and forth, I will occasionally see it. I see it parked. I saw it parked at Il Cafe the other day, which is an odd place to put it. But I've multiple times seen it parked at the Community Food Bank in Golden Valley. And what I've never seen is anyone use it. The one time that I went in, there were 3 people in there. And granted, one of them was from another program, and one of them was the PR lady. She's a very nice lady, but we're paying her essentially to post on Facebook what the schedule is so that nobody can use it. Now, I don't know if it's being used in the other areas, but you should know that. You need to audit this program. Are we paying, using grant money or not, for a nurse for this program, for the mileage, for the wear and tear on the vehicle? I wouldn't use this thing as a dog grooming mobile because the dog grooming mobiles they make professionally can at least be sterilized and washed down. Okay? So before you guys approve this, I realize it's grant money, but I really think each and every one of you needs to make an appointment to look at it physically, make a determination, and request an official audit of this program. Thank you.
Entertain a motion or additional discussion. Supervisor Gould.
Director Palmer, are we tracking the use of the mobile health unit?
We are absolutely. And in the July 2025 monthly report for the Public Health Department, we had 116 visits, and the year previous we had 48. At the same time in July of 2024. For July 2025, we had 77 screenings. In July 2024, we had 31 screenings.
So are these people without health insurance?
Oftentimes, it's individuals who do not have transportation in order to go into town. And so that is why our target areas are going to be the outlining areas. So it's not necessarily in Kingman, it's not necessarily in Havasu, it's not going to be in Bullhead City. We're going to Meadview, we're going to Dolan Springs, we're going to Wickiup. And then we set up wherever the people are more likely to go. So sometimes we go with the bookmobile from the library in order to get the more people to stop in. There was a period of time where it was a matter of trust. You show up in these areas with a big county logo, department logo on the side, and they're not sure what to think. And so that attending that same location on a regular basis so that people know to expect you and that they build that trust with you, that is what we did for the first couple of years. Also, I would like to add that our staff on the mobile health unit are not the ones that post where they will be. We actually have somebody within our office that handles media inquiries and then the social media outreach.
So when are you tracking just numbers, or do you track what the service they received was?
I would have to find out if we need the details as to what the screening was or what the visit was for. I would have to go back and find that information.
That would be good information to have.
Okay.
I've never thought that this was going to be an effective plan. It was paid for with ARPA money. Originally, it was limited to the 4th district. It was the former Supervisor Bishop that decided that we would spend the ARPA money on that. I don't want to spend general fund money on it. This is grant money, which, as Mrs. Esposito mentioned, we seem to be looser with grant money than we are with general fund money. But I think we need to take a look at it and see what the services that they're actually receiving, and is it just more of a convenience factor for people than a necessity? I know that Access transports people. They'll send the AAA cab out in the middle of nowhere to pick you up to take you to your taxpayer-funded medical appointment. So I'm unsure whether there's really a need for this or not. And if we were to decide not to continue to fund that mobile health unit, can that grant money be used on other things? Is there flexibility in that grant money?
There is within our work plan, so if we were to change the work plan that was originally submitted, we would have to do a contract amendment.
Is there a deadline on accepting the grant?
The grant was accepted in December 2024, so this is just accepting that we have budget that we can then bill for what we're doing.
So it's after the fact then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Supervisor Martin, thank you.
You said that the youth 24 to 25 have tripled?
It's up about 40%. Yeah.
And do you have any idea why?
Other than the consistency factor, where they're consistent with showing up to certain neighborhoods and areas around the same time every month.
And you mentioned people having faith in it, so what you're seeing is increased use. More and more people are aware of it and what it can do.
I believe that is correct. Also, we did have North Country Healthcare had a mobile health unit that was unable to continue the services at the level that they were providing. And to the transportation item, we're finding during our community health improvement plan group meetings around healthcare and the ruralness of our county that they are unable to consistently get that transportation to their appointments. So things like blood pressures are being provided for hypertension, screenings for STIs and that type of thing are done.
Comments? Demographic, I'm guessing that the folks that are having transportation difficulties, are they in the upper age brackets, or is that just a wrong assumption?
That would be accurate. The majority are, yes.
Elderly?
Yes. And this mobile health unit has actually been more of a benefit than just health screenings. There have been individuals who they've come across that needed higher level care, and they were able to do warm handoffs for those individuals so that they could come into the city closest to them and be able to get that higher level care that they needed for their health.
Other comments? Well, I support this. I think it's important to take care of the generation that came before us. I mean, I think it's a good thing. So, open it up to a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Item number 14, approve and authorize the Finance Department to create a budget for the NACCHO 2025 Medical Reserve Corps Operational Readiness Award Grant in the amount of $10,000 accepted and approved by the Board of Supervisors on May 5th of 2025 to provide vital resources that strengthen emergency preparedness and public health response, ensuring critical support for Mojave County residents. Amended budget provided in the backup materials, Public Health. Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Palmer, I got a vocabulary word out of this backup was syndemic. So I had to look up that. Apparently it's a cluster of interconnected epidemics. And mainly I pulled this off because I thought that was an interesting word, but it also to highlight that we have a pandemic or a syndemic of sexually transmitted diseases in the state. And I thought it might be good that the public is aware of this. If you give us a bit of overview on that.
And this is for item 14?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 14 and 15 were both involving STDs.
15's STDs. 14 is actually our Medical Reserve Corp, and that's for those who respond to emergencies alongside with our staff. So they're going to be our volunteers that present in the instance of an emergency. The one that I could relate to that is, and hopefully I get it all correct, but one event that we experienced, we had a train derailment, we had a tornado touchdown outside of Havasu, And then we had some flooding. So that would be one where there's multiple events going on at the same time that would pull our resources. This funding, similar to the last item, we were awarded this in May, so it was not included in the fiscal year 26 budget. So this is to ensure that we have the funds approved by the Board of Supervisors within the budget so we can spend it for response.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, apply my comments to item 15 that I did not pull off the agenda because I made my notes on the wrong place. Motion to approve.
For that motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Thank you. We'll move to item number 17. Approve the June 2025 monthly report for procurement activity between $10,000 and $100,000 and fiscal year 2025 summary charge for procurement and central services. Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question on the June of 25 report number 13 for Public Works. We purchased a sheet metal brake and a plasma table. I was just curious what we're building.
Number 13.
I have another question on also, but that was in the, apparently we're breaking this down because the fiscal year ended.
Good morning. Sorry, I was looking up the report, so thank you, Chairman Supervisor Gould. I see that Director Latosky can come up and speak to the item of the plasma table and the brake, I think is what it was. And then you are correct. More for our record keeping, because we look at a lot of things on a fiscal year basis. June tends to have FY26 purchase orders issued and FY25. FY26 is continuing ongoing expenses, but we wanted it to be clear in the report what was end of FY25 spend and what was getting ready to ramp up for fiscal year 26. But I'll let Director Latosky speak to the reason for the purchase for fleet.
Thank you, Director Acton. Morning, Director Latosky.
Good morning, Chairman Lingenfelter and members of the board. Supervisor Gould, a few weeks ago, we brought to the board a request to purchase a plasma cutting table and emergency brake for our fleet services group. This is a highly advantageous piece of equipment for us, as it allows us to actually cut and fabricate metal boxes and et cetera, other types of items that help our rigging process for vehicles. We no longer have to go out and buy these prefabricated boxes out in the open market. We can actually just buy the sheet metal and fabricate them ourselves with our skilled and trained work.
Thank you, sir. I thought that's what that might be. I just wanted some clarification. Thank you, sir. And also a question, this might be for you also. Item 14 on the 26 report, fuel for diesel generators at Mojave Valley landfill. I electrified that landfill. So I'm curious why are we buying diesel for generators?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Gould. Actually, I can answer that one. We are in the middle of a project to electrify the landfill. The construction has not completed yet, and so we do still have a generator there. I believe the expectation is possibly by the end of this calendar year, the construction will be complete. As soon as it's complete, we will no longer have the generator there, no longer have the need for the fuel for the generator.
Thank you. I thought that job was complete.
We wish. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elders.
Really quick, Supervisor Gould, as you recall, you funded this project. We worked directly with Unisource. They designed it and then they ordered the equipment. The equipment needed to run power, to provide power to the landfill was long lead item. It took a while to get there. They've been in the process of installation and construction, and when complete, we will hopefully get to the point where we won't be buying any more diesel for that generator.
Good news. For the new members on the board, the Mojave Valley landfill was run on generators. So one of the projects that staff recommended to me was electrifying that. And it's way out there. If you've ever been out there, it's way beyond Vanderslice. It's way out there. But I thought that was a good investment that wouldn't incur, would reduce costs to the county and wouldn't create any additional burden on the county. But I was curious when I saw the bill for $20,000 of diesel. what was going on. Now we know.
I will add one more clarification also. With our diesel and fuel purchases, we tend to do blanket purchase orders so that we're not going in making multiple changes to purchase orders throughout the year. So they had budgeted $25,000 to purchase diesel. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll spend all $25,000. It just enables the departments to receive against the purchase order up to $25,000.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
For that motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Thank you. We'll move to item number 22. Approve and sign amendment number 6 to contract number 16 PS 07, Architectural Services, Kingman Superior Court Building Construction and Historic Courthouse Remodel Legacy Project with Dick and Fritchie Design Group, Phoenix, Arizona, allowing for plan set revisions and permitting, a new cost estimate, funding for construction administration and special inspections to complete the project in the amount of $305,536.10 for a revised contract value of $3,314,248.90 on behalf of the Public Works Department. Supervisor Gould, you pulled this one.
This appears to be the contract for construction design and management of the project.
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Gould. Yeah, this is actually the original contract that was awarded in 2016 for the overall design of the two-phase construction project. It was originally contemplated to be 2 phases by one contractor. Based on the engineer's estimate at the time that we were able to go out for construction, we knew that we did not actually have the funds to build both buildings under one contract, so it was split at that time. And then since that time, we've done various amendments to the contract, sometimes addressing the issue of when it was originally awarded and contemplated one design, one construction process with one contractor. We ended up with multiple needs for support during bidding and support during construction of multiple phases. This is continuing with that, recognizing they were our engineer of record, architect of record for the entire project. And now that we are looking at going forward with phase 2B, which should be the final restoration, it's not entirely just the historic courthouse, but right now we're under construction of the annex, the remodel of the annex, and then we will move into essentially what is the restoration of the historic courthouse to finally complete the entire Law and Justice new build and renovation of the old courthouse. This amends their contract to allow for the construction support of the final phase, to allow some necessary redesign to better use the space that remains that's going to be constructed. And so our hope is this should be a final amendment to our contract with the FDG to close out that project.
And it appears to be 10% more than what it was in 23.
Yes, it's 10% of the total overall cost of the project. Supervisor?
No, it's 10% of that contract.
10% of the total contract for DFDG,
No,
yes.
of the management contract.
Well, it's not just management, it's design. It was the original design, the management, the construction, the testing, all of that from the very beginning. I've got some history on this. It was the last contract that I awarded before I left the county. And then I've come back, and my hope is that maybe we can wrap this up before I end up leaving the county again at some point. But that contract included initial design, multiple phases of going out to bid. I think we went out to bid 3 times on the phase 2A process before we finally got a contract in place. So it encompasses that all. It's not just the management support of the construction.
So according to the price from 23, this price is 10% more.
Than what we amended in 23.
Right.
I know Director Latosky actually works specifically, and some of this includes some redesign work. It's not just the administration of the construction of the contract. So Supervisor, I keep wanting to call you Supervisor, sorry. Director Latosky could probably speak more to the basis of the dollars he actually worked through and looked at what all of their costs were and what any of their markups might be. The reality is things are more expensive than they were in 23.
I don't know that inflation's running that much faster from 23 to present, but that was my point.
I'd like to hear from Director Latosky. Director Latosky, you want to come to the podium really quick?
Yes, Chairman Lingenfelter, members of the board, Supervisor Gould. The current amendment contemplates just over $300,000, as you know. About $80,000 is slated for construction, for some design modifications. There are going to be 2 hearing rooms that are going to be created for the second floor in lieu of the jury assembly room. And then the bulk of the balance of the additional costs center around construction administration, some special inspections. And I think what happens when we look back to the original 2016 contract is that contract originally contemplated doing both the new building construction and the entire annex and historic building remodel all at once. And there's a tremendous economy of scale with construction administration. So as we've gone now in phasing this out, we see the construction administration collectively increase because we phased it out. But I have, and I do want to assure you, and the board, of course, I have looked at the construction administration, the scope of construction administration, and other related work in this as proposed under Phase 2A, and it is very comparable. We're getting about the same level of construction cost for administration.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, but we didn't phase it out in 23. It was phased before that. So the 10% is just an increase in cost from 23. We'd already phased it out because that was 21 when they completed the tower, I believe.
That's correct, yes.
So it had already been split. But thank you, sir.
Judge Moss, you had signed up on this item. Do you wish to speak?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, County Manager Elters. The only thing I have to add to what was said is that there was a jury deliberation room, I believe on the 3rd floor, when we were walking the building with Mr. Latosky and County Manager Elters. We were thinking of, and Kip Anderson and some others, we were thinking about what can we do to avoid new construction down the line. And that jury deliberation room could, and we suggested, I believe the redesign includes this, be split into 2 hearing rooms with 2 sets of very small judicial chambers, and that may be the redesign they're talking about. So we're looking forward to the future, and rather than getting just a historic courtroom done as part of 2B, we'll get the historic courtroom and 2 small hearing rooms as part of 2B, which will be ultimately beneficial to the courts, but extremely beneficial to the board when it comes to some future presiding judge knocking on your door saying we need to build more courtrooms and we can't do it here, so how about we build a new courthouse someplace, which we don't want to do. We're trying to save you money.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elters.
One additional comment, if I may. Thank you. Subsequent to the board approving Phase 2B in the FY26 budget, and understanding that needs continue to evolve and change, we sat down with the courts to look at this last Phase 2B to ensure that the project we deliver is what they need to optimize that space. And so to that end, as you heard from the presiding judge, they asked for those 2 hearing rooms. We recognized that there will be some additional design costs to those, along with the construction administration and the commissioning of the final project. We requested a cost proposal for that scope of work that was submitted, reviewed, and in this day and age with construction and understanding that remodeling components often have an unknown element to them, we believe those costs are reasonable and we can deliver the project with that. So just wanted to add that explanation to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional discussion? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Heard that motion. Do I have a second? Additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Ayes appear to have it. Do have it. So ordered. Thank you. We'll move to item number 27. Approve carrying forward funds of $1,690,460 that were not expended in or rolled over from fiscal year 2025 to the fiscal year 26 fund 410904445 budget to complete construction of the Legal Services Center while maintaining the approved project budget unchanged at $14,661,137.75. This item was pulled by Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought this was the ever-evolving title of the historic courthouse remodel, but this is actually the Legal Services Center for $14,661,000. So my question original was that include was the $3.3 million from the other one included in the $14.6 million? And I've answered my own question.
Just so the board is aware, I have asked Manager Elters to compile and complete and report an update. It's been quite some time since we've had an update to all of the outstanding capital improvement projects. Legal Services Center, the Superior Court building, this outreach, reach out facility. You know when that might be coming before the board, Manager?
Mr. Chairman and board members, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you noted, you forwarded a request to provide the board an update. It has been on our plate, and it's the intent to proceed with that as you and I meet on a monthly basis as the chairman. We're meeting this coming Wednesday. My intent is to provide a layout as to what we're going to do. Starting in October, my intent is to bring to the board an update, and we have a lot of projects going on, vertical project, transportation projects, water-related projects, to sort of break it down in buckets, and monitor the board agenda as to presentations and such, and make sure we don't overwhelm, we don't extend the meeting, but do provide you an update, and an update would provide you a picture or two, the budget for the project and where we're at with construction and the anticipated completion date. And so, yes, we will be starting that in October.
Great. And just so the board knows, the goal of that, I think, is just in case any one of us gets questioned out in our district about any one of these projects, that we would have the answer about where that project stands just in one spot, one sheet or two sheets of paper we could refer to. So any additional discussion on item number 27? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
For that motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 40. Approve appointment of Ryan Esplin and Michelle Holden as Judge Pro Tempore for the Superior Court of Mojave County as requested in Administrative Orders 2025-16 and 17. This is pulled by Supervisor Lettman.
I think Judge Moss has a very important announcement to make. And when you're done with that, if you could kind of give us a little indicator where you're headed based upon the appointment of Judge Camacho over to Division 8, what's our next steps?
Thank you, Judge Moss. Welcome once again.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, County Manager Elters. Yes, I'll start with Division 8. One of our existing commissioners, Judge Doug Camacho, was appointed by the governor to Division 8. That was a well-deserved appointment, in my opinion. Judge Pro Tem Commissioner Judge Camacho had, I'm going by memory, but roughly 10 years of judicial experience as a commissioner. He had many years' experience as a prosecutor at the county's attorney's office. He's a very solid judge, was a very solid attorney, and he's a person of exceptional character. And so I applaud the appointment of Judge Camacho, and I applaud the governor's office for their selection, and I'll say they're very efficient work with Mojave County. I've heard horror stories from other counties where it could take months upon months to get an appointment done. Whether it's clerk's offices or judges' appointments. And they moved extremely rapidly when we pointed out to them the shortage of judicial resources and our caseloads in Mojave County. So they really stepped up, and I do appreciate that. When it comes to that, then, the board has already approved the appointment of a commissioner for October to take effect sometime in October. We're targeting October 6th. They would have a week of in-location training by shadowing the judges in their particular case assignments, and they would actually take the bench on October 14. So we have that vacancy that was created by the new commissioner position by this board, and now we have Judge Camacho's commissioner vacancy because he moved from commissioner to Division 8. That's why you have two in front of you. We anticipate other vacancies going forward. We have a lot of, not a lot, but we have a few senior judges who are getting ready to retire. I anticipate, and I've tried to explain to the board probably in my very awkward way, that between now and the end of 2030, the majority of the Mojave County bench will be different people. I'm retiring at the end of 2030, for example. I refuse to be one of those judges who work to mandatory retirement. You got to pass the gavel gracefully to the new blood eventually. So we have a series of retirements, which I anticipate will largely be filled by commissioners, which means that additional bodies will be moved into their positions. Before you today is the top two people out of the interview process that we did. We formed a committee. That committee, I think, reviewed, I'm going by memory, so if I'm off on a few numbers, I apologize, had 12 applicants. They chose to interview 8 applicants. The process was essentially of the 5-member committee, any 2 committee members could select a person to be interviewed. So it didn't require a majority vote to get an interview. You just had to have 2 of the 5 select a person for the interview. And then 5 of the applicants were determined to be of sufficient intelligence, character, education, and experience that they could be considered for appointment as a judge. Those names were forwarded to me. I then went through them. We checked with their references that they were provided. We had background checks done through our court security team to ensure, and then I conducted my own impromptu interviews. I always like doing that because the committee has a structured interview. You're going into an interview a couple weeks in advance, so you get a chance to practice. I always do an impromptu where I call them up on their cell phone out of the blue, and just interview them right then and there so they don't have time to prep. So maybe you get a little better picture of who they are. They all performed very admirably. And after interviewing them, I determined the sequencing. Because in theory, depending on what happens with our 2 division retirements coming up next year, and if commissioners are moved into there, and then you have already created a new commissioner position for to take the spot in April. In reality, it's going to be May 1st, but April was what this board had said. In theory, we could have 5 new judicial bodies. They'd be playing a game of retirement and then musical chairs at that point. But in theory, and that's why we have 5. Now, it could be less, too, depending what the voters do in the elections and all that, but we're prepared. The courts are trying to prepare for the future, look forward to the future, and put plans in place. The positions approved by this board do not change. The numbers of positions do not change. But the who goes in, who goes up, and who comes in, or who goes out, who goes up and who comes in may change over time. So right now you have the 2 commissioners that are new, one filling Judge Camacho's old seat and the other being the seat that you folks created. In May, I'll come to you possibly with the second seat that you folks created. And if Division 4, hypothetically, remains only one contender, then for Division 4, and that's a commissioner who's contending for that spot, that's a maybe, If that commissioner is then appointed by the governor as being the only game in town, then maybe with subject to board approval, I can move a new body, one of the registry, one of the 5, into that spot. So that means 4 new bodies there. Again, the number of seats has not increased from what this board has approved. But it's who moves out, who moves up, who moves in. That's a constant flow, and I think it's going to be a constant flow over the next 5 years. Did I answer your question, Supervisor Letman?
It sure did.
Okay, too much so?
Are we going to have a quiz on that?
No. I have been saying these words to, I think, everybody constantly, that Mojave County courts are in a state of flux for a variety of reasons. That's because of increased case filings. I mean, that law Entrada project, I mean, over the next 5 years, you could have a population boom just because you have a massive subdivision coming in. I don't think that's the only thing that's going on out there, but I don't think we're going to recognize Mojave County as it exists in 2025 compared to 2035. I think it's going to be a different world a little bit. So, any questions?
Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Objected to these appointments that were made.
Sure.
What is the procedure? Because I understand we don't have the authority to say yea or nay on your 2 pick. If the general public has problems with them for whatever reason, who would they reach out to?
I'll quibble a little bit with you, Supervisor, on that. I think you do have authority to say yea or nay as long as it's for non-discriminatory reasons, and for good public policy reasons you could say no, and I can't force you on that. There's a division of power that goes on. It's almost like you folks are the Senate and I'm the president, which is a weird case for a presiding judge to be. I nominate, you confirm, sort of thing. But so there is some small
Advise and consent.
Yes, right. And which I think is fine. That's exactly what we want in a Republican system of government, both locally and federally and everywhere in between. But there was an opportunity where everyone that was put out there for these commissioner positions, their names were out there. And people were free to give comments. Every commissioner, I don't know how many comments came in, but there were a lot. And I say that the vast majority of comments were very positive about every commissioner. There was maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 comments for every commissioner which were derogatory. A lot of what was thrown my way that was derogatory, I did not pay attention to because my job as presiding judge is to look at merit. I look at your experience. I look at your breadth of experience, not just the longevity, but the breadth of your experience. I look at your professional reputation, what the references say about your character and what the bench, because it's not just, I poll all the judges too. That's one of the steps along the process because we see these people in court. Anybody have a reason that I should veto this particular person? So we do a lot of background checks, but when some people say to me things which are based upon race or religion or lack of religion or ideology or sexual orientation, I don't pay attention to that. I'm 100% based upon merit. And that's this is one of the few areas where we as judges, I as a presiding judge, get to act out my conservative philosophy. Everything is based upon merit. And if you work hard, if you have achieved, if you have formed a positive reputation amongst your peers, then you can potentially be a judge someday. In Mojave County, Arizona, we're the land of opportunity. We're short-staffed. Phoenix calls us, the Chief Justice calls us a legal desert because we're so short-staffed with lawyers. And when it comes to lawyers who are capable of being judges, in the opinion of the committee and the other judges and the members of the community, maybe we're short-staffed compared to some other places which are overflowing with lawyers, which we have a lack of. but both Ryan Esplin and Michelle Holden, and by the way, the other 5 applicants who came out of the committee, they're all worthy of being a judge, in my opinion. It's just a matter of timing when it comes to their appointment. What order do they get appointed?
So the answer to the question was the time has already passed, and there's not an additional avenue.
I don't understand that.
I think that if I heard Supervisor Martin's question was, is there a method or a process
Currently.
right
Oh
now?
yeah, if a judge makes a mistake, if you don't like a judge's legal decision, you can appeal. If you think the judge has engaged in behavior which is unworthy of the office, we have the Judicial Conduct Commission who regulates.
I think that's what
that
the question
behavior.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So there's 2 avenues. One's I don't like their decision. Well, appeal. A lot of people complain about decisions to the Judicial Conduct Committee, and they say we don't care about their decision. We care about their character. What have they done that's defective as a judge, and that they should be held accountable for. So those are the 2 paths, the forks in the road that people who don't like a judge can take.
Thank you. Additional discussion, or I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve item 40.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it. So ordered. We'll move to our public hearing. We have 1 public hearing. I'll open the public hearing on item number 41, discussion and possible action regarding approve or deny the adoption of Mojave County Ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance amending the Mojave County Ordinance 2021-03, the Building Code Ordinance, to exempt permits for residential re-roofs, utilizing the same existing roofing material, and to exempt the replacement of residential structural roof decking with a maximum of 128 square feet or 10% of the roof surface, whichever is greater. We have 1 person signed up to speak during public hearing, Jennifer Esposito.
Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. This is a wonderful thing. It's a great start. I mean, the fact that home repair has essentially become criminalized at the county level is sort of beyond absurd. There's so many things right now in the international codes that just don't really apply to rural Mojave County. And this is one of them. This and that whole water heater permit thing, we've sort of gone too far, and I realize that staff has never met a fee or a fine or a permit that they weren't emotionally attached to. But when I lived in Quartzsite, I knew a little old lady. She was about 90 years old, and she would get up on her own roof and fix it herself. She's an amazing woman. But the reality is that if even a 90-year-old woman can fix her own roof up to a certain percentage, why not let people do it? Why charge them for permission to fix their own property? You wouldn't charge somebody permission to change their own oil filter on their car, or, well, you would if it was a water heater, now wouldn't you? But we need to get rid of this stuff. We need to comb through everything in these codes. If you don't have the backbone to repeal the whole thing and go back to the building code we used to have, fine. Then let's just take these things one at a time and get rid of the most absurd parts of it. Because ultimately, these international codes, with the exception of the fire code, which is required by state law, these international codes are basically HOA rules. They're designed for these like 20-minute city things. They don't really apply to rural people living in rural areas. And the other problem that you have if you don't repeal it is, if somebody lives way out in the middle of nowhere and nobody knows they fixed it, are you really applying the law equally? I mean, are you checking every roof in Mojave County for compliance? It's one thing if you require somebody to have let's say a fire extinguisher in a restaurant, and you have an annual inspection and you make sure that it's working and certified. But so much of this stuff is applied arbitrarily, and we do have a right to equal treatment under the law. So when you come after somebody for a roof repair or other minor things on their property, but you're not going after their neighbor because nobody complained about them, or you just didn't happen to notice because you weren't going door to door, having a complaint-driven process is another problem with this. So I hope that you will all do the right thing and fix this and make this the beginning of a progress on going back to the way things should be for rural property owners who live outside the city. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would wish to provide public testimony during public hearing on item number 41? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll open it up to the board. We have a motion from Supervisor Gould. Do I have a second? Additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Thank you. We'll move to our regular agenda this morning, item number 42, discussion and possible action, approve a recruitment plan for the county manager position and provide direction to staff to move forward, continued from our September 2nd meeting. Manager Elches, you want to kick this one off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. This item presents and integrates the direction that we got from the board at the last board meeting. It basically confirms that we will administer the recruitment in-house. It would also confirm that that we will have a panel in place who we have named for you to consider. That panel, if approved by the board, will be responsible to screen and interview and advance a short list of 3 to 5 to the Board of Supervisors to directly interview and select the next county manager. It also reflects what we believe is a reasonable cost for advertising or candidate travel for interviews, should that be necessary. This will only be incurred if required, also related to onboarding and relocation assistance when we get to that point. So if approved by the board today as presented, we would come back at our first board meeting in October, and only after we have received from you, the board members, any feedback, which we absolutely welcome, related to the minimum qualifications and priorities. Sometimes between now and the rest of this week, perhaps well into next week, we hope to get additional feedback from the board members related to, again, minimum qualifications and priorities. We will integrate those in the job description that has been updated, by the way, but it is yet to include and reflect the board recommendations. We will get approval on October 6th and run with it. The timeline that we provide in this backup, in the proposed timeline, will carry us through advertisement, interview, and then we anticipate coming to the board on January 6th, the first board meeting in January, with a recommendation based on the board interview and decision, and then culminating or completing that process in January, toward the end of January or thereabout, and proceed accordingly.
Okay, thank you. I'd open it up to discussion from our board. Supervisor Lettman, thank you.
A couple of items. The executive search firm is gone, correct, in this proposal?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lettman, no recruitment, no third party. It will be handled in-house.
Okay.
Yes.
And then in the screening and selection process, we had the HR director was going to do the initial screening. Do we know the criteria she's going to employ to get past her own initial screening?
She will follow the requirements listed in the job description today, plus any additional minimum qualifications or desired qualifications or priorities that you, the board members, provide to her between now and January 6th when we proceed with it.
Okay, and then our item 4 in the...
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I said January 6th. I meant to say October when we advertised this position.
And I'm happy to see that we revised the process to include the sheriff, the attorney, the presiding judge, and the assessor as part of the vetting panel, and a current Mojave County manager. That would be you. So this certainly reflects better, I think, what I was certainly looking for. And then, of course, the Board of Supervisors will have the final interview process.
Other comments? Supervisor Borelli?
Yes. Just for some clarification, last board meeting, one of the supervisors was saying that it was odd that the spenders would be screening and choosing, or was he talking to, was that, we're talking about department heads or the elected officials, department heads? I mean, what was that clarification there specifically? I think it was Supervisor Gould. He had mentioned the spenders. You talking about the department heads or the elected, for example, the elections recorder or treasurer or assessor, sheriff, those guys' names?
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
That particular comment was made towards the electeds, but it also applied when they were talking about directors. I don't need somebody to filter who I hire. The process that we've come up with was the identical process that was put forth at the agenda before. I don't see a process for supervisors to bring in somebody that didn't make the cut. So you're creating a staff-driven process to choose the next county manager.
Well, to that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Borelli.
Yes, thank you. To that point, the county treasurer is an elected position. That's not staff. The recorder is not staff. That's an elected position. Even the assessor is not staff. They're elected officials just like us. And when you really look at their job and how much their budgets are and how much they spend, I look at also how much money do they bring in. So I would think that they should be part of this process. I mean, if anybody on this board had a candidate they thought that was, qualified, heck, have them throw their hat in the ring. We got to have a process. But I mean, heck, you look at the treasurer. Treasurer's brought in since her tenure has brought into the $61 million to the county coffers. Even the elections department has brought money in that. And when you look at the treasurer. Their annual budget's $1.4 million, but they're bringing in millions of dollars a year. Even the county assessor has gone through her process on reevaluating on some things on how wells were being taxed, has actually brought us in the black on revenues coming in. Even the county recorder, same thing. So, I think we should show a little bit of, no, I don't think he was intending to be disrespectful, but that's how it kind of came across. But I do believe that if anybody on this panel's got somebody that they think is a viable candidate, put them up. I think that should be also part of the process.
Okay.
To that point.
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The treasurer, the assessor, the recorder, the voters hired them to do a job. The voters hired us to run the county. The voters hired us to pick somebody to administer the county for us. The other electeds, it's not their job to run the county. It's our job to run the county. They have a job to do. As far as revenue, the revenue comes in because we set the tax rate. That's why the revenue comes in. But they have jobs to do, and their job is not running the county. It's our job to run the county, and we should be choosing our own employee without being filtered by staff. Thank you.
If I may, under screening and selection process, I see the merit of what everybody's saying. My own personal thoughts are, Supervisor Gould is correct in that the duties under 11-251, it does say that the board shall hire a manager. So under 4, screening and selection, if I had any sort of an input at all, I'd almost like to see those two panels sort of flipped, where the board would work with HR to screen and maybe each one of us put up the 2 top candidates we think are worthy of moving forward, having some sort of an initial interview with them. And then as far as a short list of candidates, having the other electeds interviewing those shortlisted candidates to see who they might want to work with the most. And then taking that information, I mean, as technical advisory members, I suppose you'd say that they would be technical advisory members to us as our ultimate hiring decision. But because I am interested in knowing what all of them think about, at least the shortlisted candidates. I don't know how much value it gives us to have them shortlisting candidates. I think there's more value in them actually interviewing shortlisted candidates that the board has shortlisted, because ultimately under statute, it is our responsibility as a board to select a county manager. That's my thought. Supervisor Martin, any thoughts?
You know, I understand that what we're trying to ultimately come up with here, but you know, there's a lot of people in this community outside of the county that have experience levels equal to, or, well, I wouldn't say greater than our county manager. And what I've thought about a little bit was, should there be somebody on one of these panels, not the actual hiring panel, but the screening, that maybe are from the outside, a retired executive from some major corporation that has experience in this, because we're not looking necessarily, I don't think it's a person. I like the qualifications. I mean, I'll tell you what I feel. I think that I would strongly suggest that candidate be an engineer. Otherwise, I think we'll be looking at, if we hire a non-engineer county manager, we're still going to have to come up with an engineer. So, and while I don't think mandating that, I think strongly suggesting that an applicant be an engineer would be very, very helpful at the end result. But back to my other thing, that's what I'm saying. We have engineers in our community that are retired or whatever that might be able to offer some input in these screening situations. And I just kind of thought, if there was, you know, if we knew somebody in the community that we thought would be a good screener, that we could offer that up.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Lettman, thank you.
So a point of view I like to compare the county to a business. It's not exactly a business, but it's pretty close. We're in the process of hiring a new CEO. And it's the CEO of this particular corporation, called a county, is going to have 1,600 employees underneath their direction. It is extremely wise to get a lot of input from different multiple sources on who this person that's going to be directing 1,600 people ought to be. We may have the final decision, but I want to hear what other people, especially the elected officials who have to interact with the county manager, and that's important to get that input. This is a big job. It pays well, and we don't want to get this one wrong. Even though I think we have the wisdom between the 5 of us to select the correct person, this is important. This is a lot of employees that directly report up to this individual, and you want lots of input because we can't think of everything ourselves, okay, and others can. You absolutely want some kind of preliminary vetting done. I don't care. Your suggestion's great. I think that makes a lot of sense. But at some point in time, other parties who have to interact with the county manager better give us their point of view on a new county manager.
Great comments. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not against input from other people. I'm against other people limiting my choices. input is great, and I agree with Senator or Supervisor Lettman that the more input, the better. But I don't think that people should be able to limit our choices. That's my issue. If they want to have them sit down and interview them, that's in a advisory method. That's that's great. But I don't want my choices limited on who I can choose.
Right.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gould, what I think I hear you saying is that you're not comfortable delegating the statutory duties of the board to the extent that they seem to be delegated by this plan. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. It's our job to choose.
Supervisor Borelli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Supervisor Gould, what do you suggest on how the structure should be?
I believe that we should have HR go out and advertise the position. I think we should have people apply for the position, that we take a look at those applications, and after HR has determined whether they fit whatever criteria that we come up with, and that those should be provided to the supervisors, and that we should select 2 or 3 candidates that we would like the entire board to interview. I think that's what the process should be.
So to follow up, so
to
that point, then basically what's being proposed here on the agenda, you pretty much want to shrink that.
No.
Well, because you would be eliminating the 3 department heads, current manager, and so on and so forth.
My issue is I don't want people to filter who I choose, as long as they fit the criteria. What's established here, you're letting the elected sit in on a board with the county manager and them to actually do the primary interview and then forward those names to us. That creates them as gatekeepers.
Supervisor Gould, how do you feel about all of those individuals, those elected officials, department heads, interviewing shortlisted candidates that the board shortlists? Sort of inverting.
That would be fine as long as it's advisory. I don't want them to have veto authority over the choices.
Mr. Chairman,
Manager Alters.
can I jump in with maybe a suggestion? For the screening process, to accommodate the suggestions from the board members, what if we were to collect all the applicants, provide them to this panel that is in front of you, as well as each and every one of you, and you review them, and each board member offers as many as you wish, 3, 4, 5, and then we compare them with what this panel comes up with. We could ultimately interview dozen or 15 people that would include who you offer, and then still move. That would be the first level. The second level will still be you board members conducting the final interviews of 3 to 5, maybe 6. There's really no set numbers, and ultimately making the final decision. I really think it's important to have a process in place. Otherwise, this will take a lot longer. It will become cumbersome. We will lose the focus, and it will extend well beyond the timeline that we're hoping to complete it by. That's my concern.
Thank you, Manager Alters. It's good discussion, and this is an important discussion. I have a follow-up question to you. What do you see the merits of having director, department heads, and other electeds that are not mentioned in statute as hiring a county manager, having those individuals do initial interviews and screening, rather than the board who's actually mentioned in statute, where that's one of our duties under 11251? What are the merits, in your opinion, about having them do initial interviews rather than the board who's actually mentioned in statute doing those initial interviews? And then rather than having all the other electeds and department heads simply interviewing shortlisted candidates, having them do all the initial interviews. I'm trying to get it in my head, wrap my brain around what you think that the merits of that is versus one way versus the other.
If I understand your comment, Mr. Chairman, it would be really a two-part. One is these department heads have a full-time job. They're here 8 to 5, and that's one part. So their time is probably a little bit more manageable for the commitment to review and screen. The other is they are more regularly reviewing and screening applicants for chief deputies or for lead positions and so on. So they're more probably intimate with the process. Those would probably the only 2 points that I can come up with, Mr. Chairman and board members. Otherwise, you absolutely have the experience, the knowledge, the expectations, the priorities to make those decisions. My point is, if we end up with what I hope we do, 4 or 5 dozens applying for this position, it will be a major undertaking to go through each and every one of those and reduce it down to 12 or 2, where we can begin to interview and again get down to the next level of a handful for you, the board members, to meet with directly and interact with. And again, if you go with what I'm suggesting, and it's only a suggestion, you will see as many of those, all of those applicants initially, and you will select. You could go with as few as 2 or 3, or maybe do 5 to say, I'd like to see these. And I would anticipate there would be a lot of commonalities between what we receive from you, the board, and what this panel comes up with. If you're looking for diversity of feedback and input, I think that would be accomplished with that process. Again, a lot of ways to do it, but ultimately the timeline that enables to get there.
Well, as Supervisor Lemon said, it's important to get it right, so that's why I asked that question. I think, just from my own opinion, as one member of this board, I think I'm pretty familiar with the professional backgrounds and the resumes, professional resumes of every one of the 5 board members. I think that we could actually do a pretty good job with at least initially, if each one of us puts up 2 or 3 and interviews those folks, and then we send on a short list to all the very important department heads and other elected officials that we have to work with, and then get their feedback as technical advisory members. I think that would be a process that I could get behind, but ultimately I'm just one member. So, Supervisor Letman.
Let me see if I got that right. So to recap what you said, what you're suggesting is there's a process where applications come in through HR. We get to see those applications, and we get to start vetting them ourselves initially. And then at that point in time, we recommend 2 to 3, 4 per each of us. That's the group that's going to be vetted out, and the vetting is done by initial vetting, advisory vetting would be done by elected officials, and Mr. Elders himself, final decision coming back to us on what we want to do. I can live with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. And I think that covers everybody's bases and includes everybody. At the end of the day, in statute, we're the ones under 11-251 that has to do this. So, but I think that incorporates everybody. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elters, thank you.
Yes.
Supervisor Borelli.
Supervisor Gould, will you be satisfied with that process?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Manager Elters, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just before the motion is made, just so I understand, the applications, the position advertisement period will end. The applications will be collected, will be submitted to you, the board members. Each of you will select a number. It would be great if you include that in the motion, 3, 4, or 5, however many that is. Once you select it, we will send those names, being as many as they may be, anywhere between 10 to 20, to the panel. They will conduct preliminary interviews, reduce that number down to perhaps 3 to 5, bring that list to you, the board members, at which point you will conduct interviews with them and make the final selection. Is that what I am hearing?
Didn't like the word review.
Yeah, I believe, Clerk Scooble, could you reread that? And I'd like to add that we cap it to each supervisor submitting 3 names. So we would have a maximum of 15 candidates.
So my understanding is that the applications will go to the Board of Supervisors, who will choose between 3 to 5.
I'm going to cap it at 3.
Okay, we're going to cap it at 3. They're going to take those applications, send them to the panel. The panel, if I'm correct, will then put them in a order and send them back to the board for approval.
They'll interview them as a technical advisory interview panel and send that information back to
put them into the order and then come back to you with the list of the order. That way you still have the ability to see and review any of them.
And then the board will shortlist and continue the remaining process. Does that make sense? Okay, that's my motion. That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Additional discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. And thank you for all the work that's gone into this. Item number 43, discussion and possible action to amend section 6.14 of the Mojave County Personnel Policies and Procedures to remove the requirement that an employee be 75 miles or more away from both residence and duty posts in order to qualify for meal reimbursement. Replace it with language consistent with federal GSA travel policy, whereas meal reimbursement eligibility is determined by an employee being placed on authorized travel status for official county business. Board, I put this on the agenda, reached out to our finance director. Right now, there's a current requirement that an employee, if we send them to a meeting, that they be over 75 miles away. Otherwise, that they don't qualify for a meal under the travel line under our budgets. I asked why that 75 miles was there. Nobody could really give me an answer as to why that 75 miles was there. I looked at both federal GSA and also the state of Arizona, and what they both do is, not that we have to do what they do, but they rely on their directors to place an employee on authorized travel status. If they're going to a meeting, say you're in Havasu and you have to come all the way up to Kingman for a few hours, you wouldn't be qualified for a meal because it's not more than 75 miles away. I'm just saying what we should do is replace that 75 miles or more away requirement with a manager or a director placing an employee on authorized travel status. And maybe if you want to say they have to be away from the office for a certain amount of time, that's fine too. But I just think the 75 miles or more away is burdensome to the employees. Any discussion?
Chairman Lingenfelter.
Thank you.
So is the basis of the meal because you normally run home for lunch?
Yeah, I would say it would be targeted to people that either eat at the office or go home and eat during their lunch hour.
Do you have any idea what the percentage of people that run home for lunch is?
I don't, but I don't think that it would break the county. I think that it's just more fair to our employees. If we have to send somebody down from Kingman to Havasu or Havasu to Bullhead and they're at a meeting, that if they want to bring their own lunch, that's great, but I don't think that they should be penalized.
What might be a better way is to take a look at the definition of authorized travel. And if people have to stay overnight, then I'm more than happy to pay for their meals. But if they're just on a day trip, I don't see the point of paying for meals.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elters, thank you.
Our finance director did spend some time looking at what the federal policies are, the state and the county, and how they compare. Would you like to take a look at what he has? Because I think it's got a little bit more nuances than just this. So if you're interested, before you make a decision if you'd like to take a look at what he has and see that comparison. We're more flexible in some areas, more stringent in others, but I think it would be of value for you to see it.
I'm not opposed to that, sure.
Luke, would you go ahead and proceed with your the information that you've gathered? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lingenfelter, members of the board. I did look at, current county policy as well as state and federal guidelines around travel and reimbursements to employees who are in travel status. I will say, so currently the county's policy when it comes to reimbursing employees, whether that's for meals or lodging or incidental expenses, Chairman, you're correct. We have a distance threshold of 75 miles, and that is at the point of purchase or utilization of services, 75 miles away from the employee's residence and duty post. Additionally, though, there is a time threshold component to our policy, and this is similar to at both the state and the federal levels. So our policy requires that an employee be in travel status for a minimum of 6 hours before they would qualify for any sort of reimbursement, whether that's meals, lodging, or incidentals. And the timing is also important. If we're talking breakfast, an employee does not get a meal reimbursement unless their travel starts 2 hours before their normal work shift. For lunch reimbursements, again, it's 6 hours or longer, and for a normal 8 to 5 employee, they would have to leave or commence their travel before 11 a.m. and their travel would have to end at or after 2 p.m. For dinner reimbursements, basically reimbursement for dinner is only allowed when travel extends at least 2 hours past the employee's regularly scheduled workday. When we look at the state, there's two different sources of authoritative guidance that we rely on. The first of those is the state of Arizona's accounting manual, abbreviated as SAM, and the second being the Uniform Accounting Manual for Arizona Counties, that's the UMAC. So the SAM basically has a 50 miles distance threshold, but the time threshold is that the trip has to be somewhere between 6 and 12 hours. When we look at the UMAC, and so that's the county's Uniform Accounting Manual in Arizona, it just basically punts to county policy. It says that the county policy should specify details for time and distance thresholds. It does specifically say that employees cannot use a P card. P card usage should adhere with county policy. Our county policy is that P cards can't be used to purchase meals. If we look at the federal level, we have two different sources of authoritative guidance again. The first being the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, section 301-11. And we find that the federal code is more restrictive than the county or the state in that there's no reimbursements allowed unless travel extends over 12 hours. The CFR says 12 plus hours, and as far as distance, it has to be away from your official station, however that is defined by your agency. And so the three criteria at the federal level is you have to be performing official travel away from your official station or other area defined by your agency. And they say other area if you have an employee who doesn't report into an office every day, but rather they have a job where they're kind of circulating in a general geographic region. The second requirement is you can only incur per diem expenses while on official travel, and you have to be on official travel for more than 12 hours. The IRS is very similar. That's our other federal source. 12 hours plus for local travel, and local travel is defined as 50 miles at the point of purchase from both residence and duty. The IRS further specifies that if you're in travel status for at least 12 hours but less than 24 hours, you only qualify for 3/4 day per diem. there's some other considerations to this as well. Travel that is at the 50-mile or less threshold, reimbursements may be taxable income to the employees. So that is another consideration. When we look at the county policy, prior to 2008, it was 30 miles as a distance threshold. It was updated in 2008 to a 75-mile distance threshold. I was not around in 2008, but I would wager that part of the consideration for increasing the distance threshold from 30 miles to 75 miles is because we have many employees who routinely, in the course of their day-to-day assigned duties, travel more than 30 miles away from their primary duty station or their residence. And so upping that to 75 miles limits the requirement for the county to reimburse many of these employees for meals every single day of their work year. Additionally, the 6-hour plus time threshold basically guarantees that if you have an employee who needs to drive down to Phoenix for a meeting and returns the same day, which is quite a frequent occurrence. We have plenty of employees that have need to travel to Phoenix or Flagstaff or Las Vegas or up to the Strip for training events, for other sorts of business meetings. And so this enables them to be reimbursed and to receive per diem for their meals. But it also means that those employees who somewhat routinely may travel between any of the Tri-Cities, also, unless the travel takes more than 6 hours, they're not going to qualify for reimbursement. And so these are some, in my opinion, common sense guidelines that have been placed on travel and travel reimbursements. And so in short, the county is a little bit more restrictive on the distance threshold, but quite a bit less restrictive on the time threshold for how long you have to be in travel status. My recommendation would be to maintain as is our travel policy. I think it accommodates the bulk of our employees, and in instances where they are traveling for a significant distance or more than the bulk of their workday, their regular scheduled workday, they do qualify for per diem reimbursement.
Thank you for the information, Director Mournier. Appreciate that. In light of that, I'll make a motion just to move this forward that we change that 75-mile requirement down to 40 miles and then don't change the hour requirement.
Chairman.
Just a second. I have a motion. I'm waiting for a motion or a second, or if it dies, that we would remove the 75-mile requirement and replace it with 40-mile requirement away from both residents and duty posts. Additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Item number 44, discussion only. Received information from the Public Works Department on the remaining additional allocations that are available in the Golden Valley Improvement District.
Was my item. Go ahead. Thank you. We have a revised general plan headed our way, and one of the things I've been attempting to work on is get better at water policy in general. So I reached out to the Water Institute over at ASU, and they've been helping educate me, make sure that I have a better understanding of this. And in our discussion about the general plan update for Golden Valley, we constantly talk about the proposed Dorado development. And there's been a lot of commentary going back and forth about there's only 400 water allocations available, but maybe there's more, but maybe there isn't. So Director Letowski, I'm going to assume that could you please, I've attached minutes from an item back in April of 2024, and of course, Chairman Lingenfelter and Supervisor Gould were here at that time. Could you interpret this item, item 73, the minutes from that meeting, and what exactly are we looking at in terms of water allocations for the GVID?
Yes. Vice Chairman Gould, members of the board, Supervisor Letman, I have prepared just 2 slides to just accompany a statement that I'll make. It'll be 90 seconds roughly. And if I can get that up on the screen. I'll start. In 1991, the Arizona Department of Water Resources determined 1,400 acre-feet per year of adequate water supply exists for GVID. This determination translates to 6,200 water allocations for GVID on basis of 1 water allocation equaling 200 gallons per day demand. That's in our GVID policy and procedure. Of those 62 water allocations, there are currently 402 water allocations available. They're unassigned, they're available for purchase. And that is with regard to the original 1,400 acre-feet per year. So, moving ahead, a 1995 ADWR order inferred GVID has an excess adequate water supply determination of 950 additional acre-feet per year for future projected demands. At that time, ADWR did not clearly communicate to GVID nor keep records that this represented an amount of adequate water supply in addition to the 1,400 acre-feet per year that GVID received in 1991. In 2024, staff discussions with ADWR confirmed GVID had an adequate water supply determination of 2,350 acre-feet per year total, which consists of that 1,400 acre-feet per year original allocation and committed demands under the GVID's 6,200 allocations, in addition to the 950 acre-feet per year for projected demand. And that is the point by which staff brought this determination to the board on April 1st, 2024 for board's acknowledgement that the 950 acre-feet per year for projected demands exist. And I'll conclude with, I brought this up on another slide, GVID does address the excess water supply determination of the 950 acre-feet per year for future development. The process by which the board of directors for GVID could possibly assign it for future development is contemplated in section 2.3 of our policy and procedure. And I'll just read it real quick. As lands within the district develop, the existing system, and I'm referring now to the mechanical production of groundwater, may not be adequate to supply the needed water for those developments. The district will look to the developer to pay the cost of increasing the capacity of the system. Again, I'm talking about the mechanical capacity, the ability to pump and store the water to serve the proposed development. Depending on the size of these developments, the cost may be that of drilling a new well or constructing a new storage tank or laying new water lines or all of the above.
Supervisor Letman.
I hope we don't have a quiz on that either. Okay. Let me just ask the questions. So currently there's only 402 allocations / hookups available. But what I'm hearing you say is that in fact there is this future allocation that is potentially available for 950 acre-feet. How many allocations / hookups does that equate to? Do we know?
Supervisor Letman, actually ADWR has determined that 950 acre-feet per year as available to GVID for future development.
Okay.
It would loosely translate to, if it's 6,200 service connections, just by proportion, 950 divided by 1,400 times 6,200, it would be about, the 4,000 water allocations. But the board of directors doesn't necessarily have to, go down the road of assigning water allocations. You could, just as we kind of do with the DI-40 water system, you could just assign an acre-feet per year proportion.
Okay, so to summarize, we have the 402. Those are going to run out very shortly. Okay, but in fact, we have some more hanging around for future allocation.
Yes, we
that
have
would
the
apply
950.
to anywhere inside GVID, including the Dorado subdivision. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elters.
I think it's really important to also note that our understanding with ADWR is that the 900 plus acre feet availability is not the end all of it all. It is with the understanding that when the county approaches allocating that availability, there would be a determination and an approach to increase the water availability in future years based on needs. The 980 or 85 is not the ultimate final number. It's truly intended to work with ADWR on county projections and needs, and as we approach that amount being allocated, we would request more and more would be allocated. That's the understanding that we have with them, and that is the policy that they practice today.
Thank you for that. Additional discussion? Thank you. Move to the call to the public. First person up is Josh Wilson.
Good afternoon. Thanks for hearing me. I can't give you the full description of my concerns in 3 minutes. So I'm really hoping you will take follow-up information later. But just about me, I'm Josh Wilson. I reside in Mojave County up in Littlefield. I have a handful of business operations. I employ over 20 Arizona residences. And, you know, we do over 20 million annually. You know, we pay tens of thousands of dollars to state and county for taxes. And I just love this place. But none of that reason is why I'm here today. I'm here from a passion project that I learned about in 2006. And I lived in Maui, Hawaii. And over there in Maui County, we got an ordinance passed for pesticide spraying and GMO crop labeling. And I watched the federal government roll over and take away that ordinance. But it kind of opened my eyes up to what's possible in regulations. Fast forward to 2021, I open up byandforthepeople.org. It's an organization, and I spotlight biotech and the federal government relentless effort to adopt biotechnology in public lands. Now, in 2024, under the Biden administration, the NEPA Act, Phase 2 was the NEPA Act, National Environmental Policy Act, was changed to allow categorical exclusion. This consists of genetically engineering mosquitoes and vaccinating frogs and stuff. And that stuff's happening up there in the Arizona Strip. Now, that in hand with the Environmental Species Act under Section 7 and Section 10 allows biotech manufacturers to do their own paperwork and release genetically engineered plants and animals into our public lands under the name of climate-resistant strategies. They call it science. Now, I've talked to many, many senators, congressmen. Nobody has ever said they know about any of this stuff happening, but I can assure you I have the paperwork that proves that it is in the pipeline. Now, Mr. Gozer introduced the Public Land Energy whatever Act recently, 2005. This thing's going to give 25% of all energy payment with no tax to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. I ask that you spotlight U.S. Fish Wildlife Services and BLM projects and conservation projects like the Nature Conservancy to talk about their biotech involvement, even though it's hidden. The Endangered Species Act makes it so it cannot be visible to the public, and we'll
Thank you,
never
sir.
know who puts it in.
3 minutes is up. District 1, I'll follow up with you directly on this, okay?
Well, I did email you 3
Yeah,
weeks ago. I called twice, never a return call.
We'll follow up.
Okay? I'd
Thanks
like
again.
to see something done with this as they present their project.
Thank you. Jennifer Esposito?
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. On that GVID thing, one thing I want to say is that in the last rate increase, the board imposed a punitive use rate, which harmed a lot of people in the district because they said, we have no water, we have no water. We have to punish you if you use more than a certain amount. And so if you're going to look at adding extra water into the system, you need to repeal that. You need to say, okay, everybody can use this much, or just buy the gallon, which is what I filed my case over to begin with. I said it should just be by the gallon. You shouldn't have a punitive rate. But what I really wanted to address was at the last call to the public, the chairman of the board essentially insinuated that my journalism lacked due diligence and was not factual, and that he wouldn't line a bird cage with it. So I'd like to address what I actually stated, because if we're going to deal in facts, we should deal in facts, okay? And I would like to apologize to the chairman, because...
Is this a matter within the jurisdiction of the public body pursuant to ARS 38431?
Well, if you have the right to rebut me, I have the right to rebut you. It's not, and if you want to get into an open meeting law thing, I have the floor. You're taking my time.
We're adjourned.
No, we're not. Okay, open meeting law complaint.